Hi, everybody. We're back for another episode of This Week in Flat Earth. And with me is Lawrence from UK. And we have guest Scott Price, who is messing with his new headset and doesn't seem to have any volume. Although
Check
it
1,
looks
2.
like I can hear. There he is. Awesome. Good job. And we also should be having Ned Kelly from Australia joining us shortly. It's, I think 7 a.m. over there, so he probably is just getting coffee. So unless he's an early bird. So anyway, we're back, and we have quite a few different topics to talk about, as always. But predominantly, we're going to do a couple of things. One is we're going to talk about the anomalies that people are finding in the sun and the moon most recently. And we also are going to revisit some more of Samuel Rowbotham's proofs of a flat Earth, just so that we can check and verify that what everybody is using as flat Earth proofs have indeed been researched, and we just like to question everything. And if you don't question everything and you just rely on old information from like a really long time ago, then you may be passing on some misinformation, either accidentally or because you didn't take the time to actually research it for yourself. So we're going to start off with Lawrence going over maybe one or two Rowbotham peculiarities and see what kind of shit we can stir up this week. How about that for starters?
Yeah, there's Rowbotham tells so many lies or told so many things that are not true that you couldn't do justice to it in a single show. So I've just thought I'd do some bite-sized chunks. So we're back to screen share again. Okay, entire screen share. Okay, let's have a look. Hold on, is it that one?
You have to select the.
There we go. Debunking Rowbotham. Okay, so this is from Rowbotham's book, which is, I think it's called something like The World Is Not a Globe. And
we lost your screen share.
You did? Oh, right. Okay, let's try that. Take that down again. Screen share. Has it gone still?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Select the item and then select screen share. Share screen. Scott, can we hear you yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, awesome. Might give you just a little bit more volume. What's happening, Lawrence? I thought you were getting really ace at these screen shares.
Just a minute.
After how many months? Open the item, select it with your cursor, then hit the screen share button. This is for you later too, Scott, if you're going to try to do the same thing. And for those of you listening to this on a podcast, this is me smiling. Okay, well, maybe just start talking about it.
Entire screen. I've got it now. Okay, I've got it. Entire screen. Right. So, okay, screen sharing. So this is from Zetetic Astronomy, the book by. Yeah, it's got it up at the top somewhere. But by the book, it's Zetetic Astronomy by Parallax, on Sacred Text. So you can watch this for nothing. So here we go.
Parallax is also known as Samuel Burley Rowbotham.
All right, so first of all, he's making a comparison here between the UK and New Zealand on the assumption that they're the same distance from the equator. He's saying they're about the same. They're not, because New Zealand's latitude 41 south and London's 50 north. So, you know, London is further away. So anyway, he says, another peculiarity is that though the days are warm and sunny, the nights are always cold. So he's talking about New Zealand. So, well, first of all, the nights are always cold. So you look at the weather for New Zealand. Okay, and this is now in the winter, because it's their winter now. And you look at the temperatures, nighttime temperatures in New Zealand now. This is the capital, Wellington, and it's 11 degrees C. You know, that's very mild. You know, that is warmer than what it is in London. If you look at London, here we go. London in our winter, and it's got the highs and low temperatures. December the 25th, high 9, low 6, so it was colder then. Low 14, similar, low 14, low 9, low 9, low 10, low 10. So, you know, overall it's colder in London than it is in New Zealand. So that's the first lie on there, saying it's always cold when it's in fact very mild. He says, what can operate to cause the twilight in New Zealand to be so much more sudden? And there's lots of people repeating this, like the Morgile, saying that, you know, it goes from night to day in next to no time. That's another barefaced lie, because I've checked it out. So we look at New Zealand, the twilight. Let's just find that. Okay, in Wellington, this is right now. And let's look at June the 21st. So sunset is 16:58, 2 minutes to 5, and twilight ends at 17:30, civil twilight. So it's 32 minutes. So they got, in the winter in New Zealand, the twilight is 32 minutes. Now he's saying it's almost instant. So let's find somewhere comparable in the northern hemisphere at the same latitude. And Chicago has the same latitude as Wellington in New Zealand. So let's take a look at Chicago. So that's London. There we go. Is it Chicago? Here we are. Chicago. So you look at Chicago in their winter. So go to December the 21st. Sunset 16:23. Twilight 16:55. A total difference of 32 minutes, identical to what it is in Wellington. So they're the same latitude, north and south, and they have the same amount of twilight. So all these people, including Eric Dubay, who keep telling you that, you know, what Robotham says is true, you have it here in black and white that it's not true. So what else does he say? He says the latitudes are about the same. Well, they're not. And the distance around the globe would be the same at 50 south as it is 50 north, well, it is on our map. And as the whole would roll around once in 24 hours, the surface at the two places would pass underneath with the same velocity and the light would approach in the morning. Blah, 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 blah. The differences are altogether incompatible with the doctrine of the Earth. So basically,
Earth's rotundity.
Yeah, he's talking about temperature and twilight being different in New Zealand because the sun, with their model, has to go much faster, you know, going round to get round. That's basically what Robotham's saying. But we have, you know, up-to-date modern evidence that people can check out for themselves, and the people who live there can verify it, that Robotham's statement on that particular area is wholly incorrect. So let me just stop sharing on that.
That's very interesting. You know, we also have to take into consideration that the difference in technology and ability to verify these things is much different today than, I mean, it's instantaneous versus when Robotham wrote the book. So, and did his experiment. So, in good faith, you know, you have to say, well, maybe he just didn't know any better, or maybe he didn't have access to complete data, or maybe he just was making shit up to, you know, reverse engineer ad hoc theory his, you know, his version of flat Earth, his circular version, to make it work. So for those who say that the sun moves faster in the southern hemisphere than it does in the northern hemisphere in order to make the AE circular map work, they're just making stuff up to make it work. And if you want to argue that the data that we're using comes from the government, fine, it does. It comes from some agencies, and not all from the government. Some of them are quasi-governmental, but regardless of that fact, this information can be verified by anyone who goes and looks at it and says, no, that's not true. It doesn't work that way where I live. So I rarely ever hear anything like that from anyone. And if you do hear that from someone, then you say, well, show me your evidence, and then crickets. So, Scott, what do you got? Tell us something new. Me and Lawrence know everything, and you probably know everything else.
I think everybody needs to get this application. If you have an iPhone, and I was talking to Lawrence about it, and it is called Theodolite for the iPhone. And it is by far the most spectacular little program. And it turns a typical iPhone into a $2,500 Theodolite with advanced features. Some of the research I did into it will allow you to do, what would you call it, group shots. So I was mentioning to Lawrence, this would be a great app that if we all wanted to simultaneously take a picture of the sun, we could all shoot it. It would give the exact location where you are, position of the sun in the sky, and send it to everybody in the group, so everyone could triangulate from multiple positions all over the world where the sun is relative to them.
Interesting.
Whereabouts are you, Scott? Are you in Canada somewhere?
Yeah, I'm in Calgary, Canada.
What latitude are you on, roughly?
I am exactly 51.04.
51. Oh, so you're about the same as me in the UK, then.
Yeah, and
you sent me a link earlier today, or maybe yesterday, showing this thing, and you plotted it on a Google Earth thing, showing the apparent motion of the sun from where you live, which raised a few eyebrows for the people I've mentioned it to. Obviously, it's supposed to be over the Tropic of Capricorn right now. Tropic of Cancer right now. But your tracking was showing it elsewhere. Do you want to share the screen and show us what you sent me and talk us through it?
Yeah, I have several. I have 3 monitors, so I'm not sure how the screen share will work, though.
There's a little green button on the left-hand side. If you move your cursor over it, click on that, and then it'll just click on share your whole screen. There'll be some other buttons come up.
Okay, first shot here is, again, I just used Google Map to show where I took the initial shot from. So in the morning.
Scott, pardon me.
Can you talk a bit louder, Scott? Turn your volume up.
Just a minute, please. We need more volume from you, Scott. You're muffled. Not really sure why.
How's that now?
It's not really that good. No, I don't understand. I've got you pretty maxed out here from my end. So go ahead and do the screen share. Maybe let me think about what else I can ask you to do. So go ahead.
Okay, let's start with the first shot here. And this is, again, I just did a...
Scott, can you turn up the volume on your laptop to max?
Well, I don't know about max, but...
Everything is up as high as I can turn it, as far as I know.
Yeah, you're muffled, so it's either your headset is not actually where the sound's coming from, perhaps. Maybe it is coming through the speaker of the computer. really.
Oh, but I had this all figured out.
All right. Well, I mean, I can actually hear you breathing, I think, but I don't know why I can't hear the words very well.
Jackie, how's that? Is that any better?
No.
Can you hear me now?
No, it's worse.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, well, the only other option I can think of is to, like I said, unplug the headset and just try to talk using the speaker are you on a desktop?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
now
better.
suddenly you got better.
Yeah, I just did the unplug and plug.
Okay,
Okay, so back to this. First
awesome, better.
image real quick. This is just where I shot it. And I try and, my job is I am actually a photographic researcher. So
The sound went away again.
So,
I
as soon
don't-
as you screen shares, the sound goes.
Yeah.
there we go. Doesn't like it.
No, it doesn't.
Well, tell us a bit about it before we put it up,
Okay,
Scott.
tell us what we're going to see and then do the screen share.
Okay, we'll do that. First image is where I took the shot from. I'm going to use Google Earth just to show the relative locations. So when I did the actual directionality for the sun, I simply used it just to point.
All right, the sound's not working, Scott. It's just not. So perhaps close out your window and click the link and come back in and try it
Any better
again.
now? Okay.
Sound is one of the worst problems with these Hangouts is getting equipment to work properly. And Ned is trying to come on. He didn't know that he had to download the Google app, Hangout app. So he's trying to get that happening. So, well, it's not as easy as it looks, folks, sometimes trying to get more than one person on there or trying to get somebody new on that hasn't done Hangouts before and hasn't checked out all the equipment. And sounds like Scott has checked out his equipment, but suddenly.
Test 1, 2.
Oh, now that's good.
Okay. Try it again. So I'll explain the shot first before I put it up. Again, I used Google Earth to show the relative position of where I was. And let's share this. Okay, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I took the sunrise shot on the east side, and sunset I tried to do on the west. I chose this location because it's elevated in terms of looking over the city. I could actually see more than if I drove 20 minutes, say, east of the city. So that's exactly where I took the shot. And again, using Google Earth. Do you see the line?
Yes.
Okay, that simply shows the directionality from where I was and where the sun was physically coming up over the horizon if it were a globe to me.
Can you stick
Okay,
it up
screen
again,
share
Scott?
it one more time.
I'm sorry?
Screen
globe
share it
thing.
one more time. Lawrence, don't talk. Share the Google Earth one more time. Show the line.
Okay. There, is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, Scott, leave it up so we can talk about it.
Okay.
Right, so what we've got there, you're in Canada on about the same latitude as England. And what you're saying is there, visually, the sun was coming to you over the tip of Greenland, which is 60 north.
Correct.
When the sun itself is over the Tropic of Cancer right now. So that causes something of an anomaly, don't you think?
Well, I was just curious, who else had measured or took a shot at that time? Was there anyone available who did that?
No, I've got a guy who I sent a compass to in Latvia, not Latvia, but one of those places that you go on a cruise up around the fjords and what have you. He was quite north, but he hasn't got back to with his video yet.
Okay, just for a moment, let's introduce Ned. Ned's just joined us. Hopefully we can hear you, Ned.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Great, awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well,
how you going, guys?
Glad to have you with us. This is Lawrence, and this is Scott, and this is me.
G'day, Scott. So, g'day, Lawrence. Hey, Laura.
Hi, mate.
Hello, mate.
Yeah,
all right. So,
yeah, hi, mate.
So, Scott, just to sort of finish that, explain in layman's terms to people who wouldn't understand what it is actually you're showing us what the anomaly is. Explain what's happening there.
Okay, from my vantage point, and I'll bring that shot up again. Looking at, I believe it was sunrise. Just going to pull up my theodolite shot. So I was looking at a direction of about 45 degrees of true north, and that's exactly where I saw the sun arise.
Okay.
Now when I place that on the Google map, just to draw a straight line, that is the direction the sun would have been appearing to me.
Okay.
Interesting.
And that's not possible if the sun can travel. If the sun travels no further north than the Tropic of Cancer, correct?
Shouldn't be.
Okay. So that in and of itself is quite an anomaly for the sun to be coming in from that direction. And so we've been trying to explain that over the last several months as to why the sun appears to be coming in from a rising and setting, even for some people in the north of where they live, which should be actually impossible.
There's the shot of sunset, and that was at 300 degrees northwest, I guess. Unfortunately,
okay,
the clouds.
We're still seeing the globe.
Oh.
So unshare the globe and then go back and green share your second shot.
I'm getting this. There we go.
Okay.
So from the other vantage point on the west side, unfortunately the clouds started moving in. We get that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But behind the cloud, if you look at the compass marking on the bottom, it shows a relative position of 300 degrees. And that's the direction we saw the sun setting. So from my point, sunrise at 45, setting at 300. And that's from a position of 51 degrees latitude, 114 longitude.
That's pretty trippy.
Oh, it was. Well, sunrise was 5:16 in the morning, and sunset was about 10-ish.
Yeah, Scott, for the viewers who are watching, 300 degrees would be on a clock face would be at 10 to the hour, would it not? Or thereabouts.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so that's not getting on quite close to north.
Yeah, and with you being that far north, again, if viewers will go and look at latitude and longitude lines, you will see that the latitude that Scott is at is well above the Tropic of Cancer. So the sun should never be coming in or going out north of where he lives. So that's why Lawrence and I go out on the
Holy
weekends
shit.
sometimes and say things like, oh, wonder if there's a second sun, or wonder if the sun is reflecting off the north wall face.
Well, I tell you what, it's so nice. It's so nice to hear somebody say second son.
Tell
It
us
is.
tell us
It is.
something. Tell us something new, Ned.
All right. Can somebody explain to me how?
Give us a little bit more volume. Also, you're a little bit
Okay.
more, not much. See
I
what?
think that's flat out.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Flat is good.
All right. Yeah, it is good. Well, I think everybody's been caught in this trap of looking up at the moon and not looking at the moon. If you were to watch the moon, and I've started a bit of a movement now, and people in Britain have recorded it, David and others, that it will jump in 14 hours from when I see it leave to when I see it greet me, 20 degrees on the horizon. Now, at some stage in the monthly cycle, it actually jumps 40 degrees on the horizon. So do you understand that? What that does?
You'll need to explain to us, Ned. We're not really big into the moon. We haven't got.
Isn't it? Well, see, neither was I, to be honest with you, neither was I. And then I was sitting down outside one night. I might go outside. And where I sat near this pergola, one night I seen the moon going over the right-hand side of the house, and then bugging me if I didn't go and sit out there the next night, and it went over the left-hand side. And I thought, hang on, what's going on here? So then I had to do a lot of research on the ecliptic and all of that, because, you know, the first thing when I brought it up in flat earth groups and in posts was, oh, it's the sun, it's this, it's that, it's this. But nothing explains it. So since then, 2 months ago, I seen it again here. And I thought, nah, this isn't right, because I studied the ecliptic and so forth, and the moon. I've got the moon coming up now due east, and the sun is as far north as it can possibly go, which you're talking northeast. That's a hell of a distance. And it'll jump overnight 20 degrees on the horizon.
When it
There's
comes
only one
up,
way
you're
that can
saying,
happen.
when it rises, the moon
Yep,
rises.
comes up or leaves. Yep.
And is this an anomaly that you have, or do you have a theory as to why it's doing that?
Well,
Come on, we talk straight
since
on
then, I
here.
got
You
stuck
know,
with
if you can't be strong.
Do you?
and say
Do
what
you really?
think.
All right. Here you go. Enoch's correct. Enoch
Okay.
is correct. I can predict the moon's movements with Enoch. It's due to jump again tonight.
Because of the gates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I can judge it. I put it up. I put posts up predicting in 6 or 7 days that the moon's going to jump 20 degrees. Boom. She jumped.
Really? Okay, so you're
Absolutely.
reading Enoch, and you're predicting based on the formula that is written in Enoch, where it goes in one gate and comes out the next.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's kind of pretty cool, Ned.
Well, it wasn't at first. It's kind of blown my mind, to be honest with you, because I mean, because what it does is it sort of says then that there is no circular motion of the sun and moon. And when listening to you guys there at the start with the sun coming up and coming from the north, that's impossible as well.
Right.
So what's hidden behind this is the true shape of Earth.
Yeah. And the gates.
North close. Yep, north is closer to south and south is closer to north. And you'll find the North Pole doesn't exist the same as the South Pole. I've disproven the South Pole. So you're going to find that the North Pole doesn't exist. How it works from there, guys, I haven't had anybody to talk to, but I think the analemma could be faked.
Anybody to talk to. Well, you found some.
I haven't. Yeah, hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Okay,
because
so we can all be crazy together.
North,
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so explain. Wait, hold on, because we don't want to get too far away from the gates before we move on. Okay. You said that you're able to predict based on Enoch's gates, written in Enoch, about how he describes, and it's very precise. This many days this happens. This many times this happens.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So.
And what you'll find,
and it does predict
on the second,
going in a straight line, correct?
It does, absolutely.
Okay.
Because what it is, there's so much involved in it. It's like up is up. If you were to think of the northeast, southwest, which way is north? It's up. So what Enoch says is the sun goes out descends through the west gate and returns to the east gate through the north. He doesn't confuse his words.
Right.
He means what he says. But what we do is make words fit into what we think.
Right.
It's trying to understand exactly what he says through observation.
Okay, so how do you think that we can fit this in with? So one of the things that this says, and I'm glad that you found somebody to talk to about this. One of the things that this says is that the relationship that the sun and the moon have with each other is totally different than what the AE map and model concept of the circling and the dragging. And
do you know what the moon is? The moon is a pendulum. It's a friggin' pendulum. The sons of bitches have been hiding it from us. It's a pendulum.
Okay.
It goes back and forwards, and I'd say the two different phases of the moon magnetically push and attract the sun into the next gate.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that.
Well, you think where did a grandfather clock come from?
Yeah.
The second one that was invented was a pendulum.
And they always have those moon and sun faces that turn around with the gears and everything. Yeah. And they're right on the money. They're always just right on the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much fun in this. I tell you, it's exciting. But, yeah, it's blowing my brain.
Oh, get some good information.
Sorry, mate.
It's good. You're bringing, we're getting some more new people on here with some more information that's new to us as well. So that's good.
Well,
so then, how do you adjust the pendulum?
If you just read Enoch, it can either just make you go to sleep, back and forth with all of the description of what he's trying to describe about what he's seeing with the sun and the moon, or you get it.
Yep.
Okay, there's not much in between. You either
but once you see it in the physical,
right now, but now you've witnessed the correlation between what he says and what you've seen.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what we need to do is we need you to keep a log. Okay.
I do.
Now, don't say this is not up your alley, because you have to do this. Now, this is your personal research.
I've been doing it.
Okay. I am assigning you this task. Okay. You need to keep a log, and the log needs to show. You need to get an iPhone if you don't already have one, and you need to download. What is that? The theodolite. Scott started off his segment talking about the theodolite app that you can download on your iPhone, and you just point it at the sun or the moon, and it will tell you the degrees, right?
Yep.
And then you need to log and see if you actually can predict you have done this. Okay, then we need to put your research out there.
Using my compass off my phone, I'll take a photo every time of the moon and of the compass of exactly where it's coming up and going down.
Cool.
And then I compare it. That's how I've been able to record it.
So
on the second,
Tom, where did you get the sun and moon from? It's very. I find that very interesting. I just had a look at some pictures of clocks with suns and moons on them. Where did you get this notion from? Or it just come into your head?
Well, on the second month, the first month I had to shut up, but the second month, when I seen it happen, I was sitting right here actually, because it comes up in front of me, and then I realised, boom, 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 boom. Oh, that's a pendulum. And the next thing that you've got to understand too is I was in at the supermarket and I was really excited. And I asked this old fella in front of me, because I felt I should. That's how I work. I work off emotion. And I said, how does a grandfather clock work, mate? Oh, I don't know. Before he finished, he said, but I do know how to adjust them. I said, do you? How do you do that? He said, you adjust the height of the pendulum. And isn't it funny how everybody's been saying the different heights of the moons? Moons.
Yeah, so sometimes it's lower and bigger, and sometimes it's higher and smaller. And it does.
And then when I was reading Enoch,
it does actually rotate a little bit. People argue that it doesn't rotate at all, that the face of the moon does not rotate in any way. But I have watched a woman from South Africa's videos and her logging of the moon for quite some time, and she shows in time-lapse photography, because she's an excellent photographer of the moon, and she shows in time-lapse photography that the face of the moon turns like, I don't know, maybe 45 degrees or something, or a little more during the night, during the the course of the night. I call it Tycho, the little belly button of the moon. You know, where I live, when I look at the moon, I see Tycho at 5 o'clock on the clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is very cool information, Ned. And no wonder you were excited. So I mean, I was trying to capture your excitement when you sent me inbox messages. Ned doesn't like typing, so he sends you these short little messages in your inbox. They're very quick and cryptic, and you have to try to add them all together and figure out what it is he's trying to say.
Sometimes I actually do that on purpose to try and encourage people to think.
Yeah, well, it works. So, Scott, what do you think about this new information? Does this ring any bells with you with all of your photography?
Well, the same day I did the solstice sunrise, I caught the moon coming up, because that again was supposed to be one of those rare events, full moon on a summer solstice.
Right.
And they call it a strawberry moon or a honeymoon.
I heard strawberry moon, right?
Yeah, I'm going to just share the
174.
The picture I shot with another iPhone. Actually, when I went out with two iPhones and my Nikon P900, so that everything could be verified back and forth. But again, on that one, you'll see sunrise or moonrise was at about 116, 117 degrees from that vantage point. Same point I did the sunrise. And I'm just going to see if I can share this. Is that showing?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's the P900 at 2800 millimeters.
Beautiful.
Of the moon, and again I shot this at 4 times normal speed, which is 100 frames a second. So when it plays back, it's playing back at 1/4 speed.
That looks absolutely enormous.
I know.
Spectacular. It blew me away. I thought, well, I didn't get the sun setting, so I went over to the other side of the hill, and I'm looking around, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's the moon. Holy crap!
Excuse-
What a stick.
Excuse me for
Okay,
a
so
second,
is it
fellas.
so large because of the speed that you shot it in, or
No.
what? Because we have that big antenna right over the front of it to use as something to verify the
Kind of a reference point, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a zoom. So when you zoom in, you
Okay.
compress.
All right. So
Things
what is
will
in the
physically
front
look a little bit
field?
bigger.
All right. So what's in the front field of vision is still visible and not blurred out, and what's in
Correct.
the back field of vision is zoomed in. Okay. Good bird.
So, a couple of little obvious observations is if the moon is bigger, then it's closer, isn't it?
Well, that would make sense. Yes. Obviously, things
It's
that
the
are
only way. We've got to trust our eyes.
right. Well, I do. I mean,
I
I
do
see
now.
it very close sometimes here in Florida that it blows me away that it's so, big compared to other days when you can,
Yeah.
really got to put your camera on it and zoom in a lot just to be able to capture it somewhat.
Don,
Now, I saw the moon yesterday up in the daytime here in Florida, and the sun was like right over there, and the moon was right over here, and the bottom half of the moon was in shadow, not the side, the bottom half, the little upside down smiley or little smiley face was the shadow. And I'm thinking, aha, how can the sun be lighting the face of the moon in the daytime? There's that big shadow, and we know the Earth's not, right?
Well, here's another good example because when I shot the moonrise, the moon was totally obscured behind the clouds to the west. So I'm just going to share this. I also do a little panoramic, and you can see the moon popping up over here.
Uh-huh.
Right here is where the sunrise occurred.
Okay. Oh, okay, wait. So what is that to the left of where you're pointing?
Well, in the morning when I did the sunrise, it was right
so
here.
we're at sunset now. Okay.
Yeah, this is sunset,
okay.
but the sun is 180 degrees behind me. I saw the moon instead, and it was right here, right?
Huh.
Now that's a panoramic, so everything is distorted and stretched.
Right.
But I always try and shoot a pan, just so I have a frame of reference of where I was and
Okay.
time of day, all that.
That's a good process to have.
Yeah.
So, Scott, I mean, I spent about an hour or 2 hours today just looking at midnight sun footage on YouTube, and there wasn't anywhere we could actually see with a point of reference, where the camera was, and not very few of them did 24 hours anyway. What I actually want to see is the sun itself visible at north, south, east, and west over 24 hours?
I was in the Yukon a few years ago in Whitehorse, and yes, it was. I could see the sun 24 hours, and I had no idea what time it was. I kept trying to go to sleep and look out my window, check my watch at 4 in the morning.
Scott, you said you could see it for 24 hours, but could you? We know that, but did you see? Did you take a compass reading on every time you checked it out?
No, this was years ago before I knew anything about looking at.
All right. Well, if I'd got you in a court of law saying, well, Scott, did you?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see this sun in the north, in the south, in the east, and in the west?
Exactly.
Or not? Because that's what we want to know for sure. I was
based on where I was located throughout the day. Yes, I would have seen it at every
all
point.
the way around
sometime during the day. Although I didn't have anything to take a measurement, where you are in Whitehorse, you can see 360 degrees all around. So in the course of the day, yeah, I saw the sun never really sunset. You would see it come low over the horizon, and then just come back up.
When was this?
So that video that we've seen of the sun going around in a circle, that's kind of that time-lapse one. Is that kind of what you saw there?
Very similar to that, yeah. A very parabolic kind of a curve.
How far away is that from you to travel?
Oh, it's 1,500 kilometers north, roughly.
Are you thinking of going in there again in the next 2 weeks?
I promised to take my wife there at some point. I've been there twice and she's never been, so it's someplace she wanted to see. There was only, their whole economy starts at June 15th and runs to August 20th, and the rest of the time you don't want to be there. It's cold.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah.
I had a pair of shoes to the ground when I was there in May.
Do you have to wear a black fly repellent suit when you go there? Isn't that the land of the black flies?
Everyone has their own national bird or provincial bird. The animal of the Yukon is the mosquito. Yeah, you do want to dress up.
Like a beekeeper suit or something, you know.
Don, can I ask you a question? Because you caught my attention with something else that you mentioned. I think you've been looking at Enoch. Did it say, when it said he went through the gate, did you say, Ned, sorry, did you, sorry,
I'm
Ned,
listening.
Did you say that
All right, mate, I'm listening.
went down through the gate or through the gate? Did you say down or just through?
It says, it's not what I say, it's what he says. He says, it ascends, it descends.
Descends through the gate.
Descends.
Right.
Ascends from the east, descends from the west. And then you have a look off South America. I think it is, and off, I'd say, the northern European area there, and you'll see those real strong, huge suns that are an anomaly to flat Earth. And everybody's writing it off as moisture in the air.
Right.
I've seen one footage of. You go.
Whereabouts are these big suns in? Did you say?
The best correlation I've been able to get off all the different videos that I've watched is it's somewhere off South America, and I think off Northern Europe.
Right.
Have you seen these?
It's an amazing journey. It's an amazing journey. What's that? Sorry, Laurie.
I asked Lawrence. I said, "Have you seen that?" I mean, people laugh and say these are photoshopped photos of giant suns, but it's not.
I've got a little group.
Not all of them.
I got a little group set up that just for this, and I've got it secret. And there's one footage in there that I spotted 12 months ago, and I knew it was something, and I hung on to it, and I've loaded it in there just for safekeeping. And it's of a South American guy, and he's right into Nibiru or some bloody thing like this, Planet X. But what I seen was, as the sun rises, you can see the flash of light as the gates open, as the vents open. It's amazing stuff.
Listen, they let some of these secrets out through some of these movies that they make, and we all know it. And I recently was asked by Jason Scott in UK if I had seen God's Vision. And I did watch it. As a matter of fact, I rented it so I could watch it twice. And they have Ra, the sun god, pulling the sun with his chariot. It's floating on golden water up above us. And pulling the sun with this chariot, and as it goes over the edge, the earth is flat in the movie, and as it goes over the edge of the flat earth, of course it's a disc in the movie because that's the op they want us to believe in.
Have a guess what chariot means in Hebrew, ancient Hebrew. Have a guess what chariot means.
What?
Merkaba.
What?
Merkaba.
Merkaba. Okay.
Merkaba.
That's what you sent me on that link. Okay. Or that meme.
Yeah.
So as it goes over the edge,
the moon are a Merkaba.
Instantaneously comes up on the other side. Instantaneously. Okay. And
that's something I think people struggle underneath. With, but no, it won't. That'd be letting out too much.
Right.
But I think the sun goes across the top, and I think the moon goes underneath, and there's two moons. If there's two moons, there's probably two suns.
Well, so how do you answer the Christians who say in the Bible that it specifically says in Genesis that God created the sun for the day and the moon for the night, and the sun, the moon, a sun, a moon, one and one? What do you say? How do you answer?
But then Enoch says plural. Enoch says moons.
And which is the reason why they would say, well, Enoch has not been canonized and is not in the official King James version of the Bible, and that's why.
But the KJV has only got 66 books in the KJV. 66.
Yeah, but there were other extra canonical books that were referenced by canonical books.
Right.
So.
And Enoch is one of them.
Yeah, and just because, I mean, the New Testament didn't exist in the days of Paul. When he was in prison, he said, bring me my books, my letters, especially the things I've written, all of that. What were those actual books? It wasn't the New Testament. That didn't exist.
Right.
So it would have been Old Testament scrolls. It would have been copies of every known thing out there. I mean, he understood astronomy. He understood all the Greek mythology. He could talk to them about Diana, about everything back and forth. So
well,
it was more than just.
Didn't they study the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Everything that was there.
Yeah.
I went back and listened to about 4 hours of Plato yesterday or the day before, and Plato's Apology, and right in the middle at the 30-minute mark, he refers to Aristotle as an evil son of a bitch, because he had him up on to knock his head off over coercing the youth when he wasn't. But he did mention right there and then, he said that Aristotle is trying to convince everybody that the moon and the sun, that the moon is dirt and that the sun is fire, and yet it's not. And that they were Plato's words. So then you come back to what I was saying there with the chariot meaning Merkaba, and the energy of the sun and moon is a Merkaba, the same as us.
Yeah.
When you say you saw, or there's evidence of a flash when the sun comes through the portal, at what point, where physically would you see that?
At the horizon?
I'm thinking the best, right at the horizon, and it's just before the sun actually is visible.
Okay.
The sun's not visible, and then there's
we
a
have
flash.
the same thing. We have the same thing here. It's called the green flash, and it is when the sun sets over the Gulf of Mexico. People travel from all over the world to see if they can witness the green flash at Sanibel or Captiva Island on the west coast of Florida.
Interesting. I did a time lapse as well.
It happens exactly at the moment that the sun hits the water.
I've seen that
at sunset.
And my heartfelt feeling about that is there's something to that, because it shouldn't happen otherwise.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen always either. It only happens at certain times, maybe of the year. I don't.
Is it more prevalent over water?
The green flash, I think it has to be over water.
I did a time lapse. Here, I'll show you this as well, of that very same. Let's see here if I got the right one. And this is a time-lapse movie on the Nikon P900 of the sunrise. It's short, but I didn't physically see any kind of a flash or anything, but I did it again just to have it.
That's awesome, Scott, that black screen.
That was about 40 minutes worth in those few seconds.
I didn't see anything. That's what I'm saying.
No, I didn't either. That's why I was asking.
Oh, okay.
No, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it myself.
Okay.
Laurie, what's this? I just had a look I've never heard of it before. I've just had a look and seen some pictures of it. this green flash, do you know anything else about it? What's causing it? Or
Seen it. I saw it once. I was in Sanibel, or at the tip of the island in Captiva, and I mean it's a big touristy thing to go there to the beach and see the green flash when the sun sets, and I saw it, and it is instantaneous. If you blink your eye, you missed it, and it's green. And I mean,
Wow.
it's not just green. I mean, it's like, some kind of green. It's green. It's
fluorescent
like
green.
Kelly green.
There's pictures of it on Google Images. Just been looking at them.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before. So
Yeah.
wow.
So you're looking west of the Gulf of Mexico, which is quite a pretty good expanse of water. I mean, you can't obviously see the coast of Texas from looking across. So, there's just a lot of
you can see.
there's just a lot of these kinds of anomalies that we're finally starting to notice because of the flat Earth phenomenon. And most people have seen some kind of a thing that was some kind of anomaly at some point in their life where they went, that's strange. In the Facebook group on this week, one of the members posted some photographs of the sunset in the Northeast, and she was in Illinois. I don't know how far north or whatever in Illinois. It's a big state, but she said something is just too weird here because I've lived in this town my whole life or quite some time, and she would go back and forth to work, and during certain times of the year, the sun would be setting on her way home from work. And she always saw the sun setting behind this high-tension wire tower, the big ones that go, like that, and that the sun would set through there. And she said, look, and she took a photograph from her car, and she says, it's setting over there. And it would not be setting over there this time of the year, or she could remember ever seeing it set that far north. So when it's a possibility that people are noticing things that they just didn't really pay that much attention to before because they're hyper aware of flat Earth and looking for things to support their flat Earth research or beliefs or dogma, whatever you want to call it.
Let's talk straight, all right? Let's talk straight. Yeah.
I'm down.
20 degrees on the horizon. I put it in my troll-free groups, and I challenge people. You tell me how the friggin' hell this happens, all right? Because it can't happen. It cannot happen on a circular motion sun and moon flat map, and it cannot happen on a ball. How does it happen? There is no excuse. 20 degrees, sometimes 40. It can't happen any other way.
It certainly can't happen on the globe.
It can't happen on a circular map either, because the first excuse all of the flat Earth controllers do is come in with this lunar analemma. Well, I'd never heard of this lunar analemma, so then I researched it. And what a joke. Half the pictures are all solar analemmas.
Right.
Now that's so, and the solar analemma is so easy to fake, it's scary. Stand in one spot and
and use a filter. Use a filter on your camera, and you can make the sun look like the moon. Uh-oh, I think Ned froze up. Ned, if you can hear me, your camera froze. You might want to drop out and hit that link and come back in. It might pop back, but I doubt it. Usually once you freeze, you're frozen. If you can hear me.
Well, back to what you were saying, Lori, about distances. I know I shared this with you and a few others, but for those of us who've never seen it, I'm just going to share this picture. And before I even knew anything about flat Earth, this is a picture I shot off the Princess Cruise. Which ship was it? Coral Princess. And I was on my way up to Alaska. This is leaving Vancouver Island, heading north. And I told my wife I want to be able to watch the sunsets, just because I like them. Well, what I didn't know is the onboard navigation commentary by the captain. Says, okay, say if you're on the port side, look out. We're leaving Vancouver Island. If you look north, you'll start to see the Queen Charlotte Islands. So I went out and I took a picture. I have my regular wide-angle lens on, and I've circled just lightly in red. You can't see it from this image. You have to download it and look at the original. But the Queen Charlottes are just popping up here, and the very tip of the Vancouver Islands, the last of them are here. Sunset's right there. Didn't think anything of it.
Okay.
Then someone said, hey, how about flat Earth? I go, what's that? I've heard about it. I understood your origins. So I went back and I thought, I've researched different stuff, and I thought, I know where we were because I had my little spot GPS tracker on the ship. And I thought, how far away were things that I actually saw? The tip of Vancouver Island, I was looking, was 200 kilometers south. And to the north of Queen Charlotte's, the peaks I saw were 150 kilometers.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I had no idea what I was shooting at the time. If I had, I probably would have done things a little differently.
Right.
Maybe shot, with the Nikon D900 video pans or something else. But that's what I saw without knowing what I was seeing. And there's no way you could have seen that physically.
I remember this. When you first came in the group on Facebook. This was one of the things that you shared.
Yeah, and this was over a year ago now.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. That you went back and looked up where was I, where was I looking at, and what did I catch in my camera. So.
Well, I'm a professional photographer. I have a database of going on about 1 million photos online.
Oh
so,
God.
I remember close to where I was.
Thank you very much for the little short video clips you gave me permission to use that I made video of.
Vega.
That's this is Scott's work. For those of you who, if you ever go on there, don't read the comments because it will flip you out. How people say, why don't you look at it through a telescope instead of this stupid camera that you're looking at? And why don't you, I can make that look like that by looking through some water on a windshield with a certain camera filter, blah, blah. And I'm like...
Well, sitting over to the right here, I have my Celestron 1100 HD. If anyone wants to look, it's a 2800 millimeter f10 lens on it. About 240 pounds.
Your screen's black.
Oh no, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't. I don't know if I can take. It's inside right now because it's raining outside. I don't know if you can see it through the doorway there. It's covered in a blue.
Yeah, I see it.
So it's about a $4,000 piece of equipment, and you can see an ant scratch its butt on the moon with that.
Have you found the lunar landing module yet?
I have never, and I've looked. I have all the charts. You downloaded all my NASA research, right?
Yeah, I think I did. I shared some of it, but I was going to use it to try to compile some other things, and just never.
In there, they have the actual PDFs of the landing sites, and the actual. Right. So I thought, well, let's see if I can see anything, and there's nothing. There's a zero there.
Not even any
so
tracks.
Did anybody?
Go ahead, Ned.
Has anybody got an answer to me 20 degrees jumps?
I mean, you've given us one option, and I can't think of anyone better. The Enoch Gates. I can't think of any other way you could describe what's happening.
And
I like the pendulum movement. That does answer a lot of things.
The pendulum
in terms
does
of
make a hell of a lot of sense.
And it brings into play Rahu and Ketu.
Rahu and Ketu. How does that bring into play them?
Because if there's more than one moon, which I think there is, because there's two different moons, one has a straight line, one has a curved line, then we're just calling them different names.
All right.
But then it also brings into play, as you were talking about canonizing before, that we've got physical evidence of Enoch as a book that people should be reading.
Oh, there's lots of non-canonical books that have a lot of information, good information.
Yeah, but this one can be proven in the physical.
Well,
there's
and
others
that's,
that were.
you know, that's part of what needs to be logged and put in the face of NASA and the government
Well, I
and
have.
whoever else, and say, explain this, please, because there can be no other explanation. Your story,
Well, you're
your
not. You
theory
won't get.
doesn't work.
You won't get NASA answering you. That's for sure. And I think that's probably why they come up with this second little moon ridiculousness, because of a lot of the anomalies
Yeah.
we've been bringing. Yeah, that we've been
Yeah, the
bringing to
timing on
light.
that is rather curious, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. It is. But the main thing for me is to bring this to the attention of as many real flat earthers as possible, because as many people as possible need to be recording the moon greet and leave. The sun, the moon, and the truth will never be hidden, and it's the moon's talking to us, and we've got to pay attention. Where the sun may not be able to show us because it moves smoothly, the pendulum of the moon, the timekeeper, is the one that's trying to tell us the shape of the earth and everything. Everything's hidden beyond. And you're going to get flat earth controllers that are going to go at you. I already have. I've had to block really solid name.
Just on that point, if it's possible to actually photograph the sun to watch the sunspots move. Because I have some great shots from the forest fires that happened around here recently. And the amount of smoke they put in the sky, I was able to photograph the sun directly without any filters, and you could see the sunspot in different locations.
How do you explain that?
Well, again, it does the same similar motion as the moon, like a clock face turning.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and that wouldn't quite be so possible 93 million miles away while it's vortexing and spinning and flying, and we are too, right?
Impossible.
So, okay, so if people, you know, that are listening happen to clue into some of this stuff, please throw down a comment or a link or anything to your research or another video you've seen or some time-lapse photography somebody's uploaded onto YouTube or whatever. It doesn't matter.
You're going to find, what you're going to find is you're going to find
Why are we looking at your ceiling, Ned?
Are you looking at...
There you go.
I haven't got any picture, so I thought that...
There you go, mate.
Bugging me, you can see me, can you?
Yeah.
I thought I didn't have enough data. And
no, we see you fine.
Okay. I can't see you. That's okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to get, guys, and you got to, like, because I already know this. It's already proven to me, 100%. And I've already been attacked, like, really, from...
You're preaching to the choir there, Ned. Right, Lawrence?
Oh, man.
Ned,
as soon as I started getting attacked,
Ned.
As soon as I started getting attacked from flat Earth narrative controllers, and that's what they are, I knew that I was onto something. And
Ned, give us your sort of overall impression of how the moon is working. You know, is it going up and down? What sort of path?
Well, do you really want to know?
Yeah, we want to know.
Well, what's going on? What's going on is, and if you can go to Miley Cyrus's video Wrecking Ball and pay attention, what is going on is the sun and the moon are both Merkabahs, the same energy as what we are, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's not something to do with the rotation of them. We feed the moon. So what they're doing is they're feeding all of this fear porn around the world, wars and all this sort of shit, and they're feeding off the anxiety of the humans because we're generating the energy to the moon. We adjust its height. So they're adjusting time. Also go and have a look at coming out on July 14th, looking through the looking glass with Alice in Wonderland, and you'll see pendulums everywhere. So we're feeding it. They're Merkabahs, we're Merkabahs. It's
Okay,
hiding
I have
everything.
to jump
Everything's
in here
hidden
for a
in there.
second. I have to jump in here for a
Yep.
second because you
Yep.
know how I am about people understanding what the hell we're talking about. For those of you who
Yeah. Yeah.
understand what a Merkaba is, I'm going to read it for you in context of what we're
Good on
talking
you.
about.
Good
Called
on
a
you.
Merkaba. It's Merkabah or Merkaba, either spelling, is the divine light vehicle allegedly used
Yep.
by ascended masters to connect with
Yep.
with and reach those in tune with the higher realms. Mer means
That's
light,
us.
Ka means spirit, Ba means body. Okay, go
Yep.
ahead.
So they're adjusting the height. I couldn't. All the dots fit together in this because all of those dots come together as well as the actual shape of Earth. I think you'll find there's no North Pole and Mount Hermon in Israel, and that's why the 33 is on that tab is ripped off on the original flat map. Mount Hermon will be magnetic north, and that somewhere in there, what you were talking about when I first come on with the sun coming through at different angles on the compass than what it should. Would be interesting to follow that up, but I think you'll find Mount Hermon is north. That's why it's so important. It's Middle East. You've got east above us, Asia. Then you've got Middle East. Then you've got the Western world, the US.
So for those
They're telling us.
purists, for those purists who say the Bible says that God looks down at the grasshoppers in the circle of the earth,
Yep.
Mount Hermon would
Yep.
be your
Well, he's
center
looking
of
from
your
the.
circle, right?
Yep.
And the land
Yep.
would make a
Yep.
circle, but that does not necessarily mean that is the containment
Oblong.
area for the earth.
It's an
Correct?
oblong.
Oh, you got oblong.
It's not a circle.
Okay.
Not
It's
pear.
oblong.
Oh,
No,
me
not
and Lawrence are pyramiders, or are diamonders, but pyramid over the overall shape, which would be a tetrahedron,
Diamond would be a good one.
something.
Diamond would be a good one. I mean, everything else is a Merkaba, tetrahedron. You know, so why wouldn't that? If that's the energy of God, then why wouldn't it be? You know.
Yeah, just go back to the moon a second because you raised an interesting point.
Okay.
Tell me if it interprets what you.
Come back again, mate. You
Say
broke
again,
up.
Lawrence, you broke up.
Are you saying, that you think that the moon itself feeds off the negative energy of humans?
Yep.
And that energy enables the sun to get. Does that energy mean the sun comes closer or goes further away?
What it does is they're adjusting the height.
What with?
Using harp with us and harp, I would say, and
So
they're adjusting the height. And if you'll pay attention, as you guys would have, the seasons are about a month out now, aren't they? They were 15, 20 years ago. And what do you reckon climate change is for? All climate change is for is to hide what they're doing.
Right.
They're changing
I
the
agree
seasons
with that.
and they're changing time.
Yeah. I agree with
That's all
that.
to do with the moon. It's all to do with the moon.
Well, I mean,
the
I
moon's
think
trying to tell us.
It's not just the moon. I think the sun gets added in there because, they've released videos from people, the Inuits way north in Alaska, Canada, who have said that the position of the sun has shifted, and the amount of time that they have for their sealing season, killing seals, which is their livelihood and their main food source, has been shortened significantly.
Well, that's because of the pendulum. The moon is the pendulum. It's the timekeeper. Old man time, doing its thing. But they're changing its height. How do you change a pendulum?
So let me define what you're saying there from my perspective. You're saying they are changing the height and the time. Okay.
Yep.
So
the occult.
You're saying the powers that be, whatever we all want to call them, the Decepticons or whoever, are using both technology and our own negative energy together combined to alter. Okay.
Time.
time.
And it's written in, I read it up there in Daniel 27 or something. I think the other day I was reading it, and seasons and times. They'll endeavour to change the seasons and times.
Yeah, and what is it
Well,
that if time weren't sped up, we wouldn't be able to deal with it?
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact.
Plus the days are shortened.
Shortening.
There'd be nothing left alive.
Right.
No flesh.
That's right. Well, I've gone through so much information, my head's just flying.
Joy the
It's just
game,
flying.
for
Because
sure.
all of the dots are fitted.
Yeah.
All of the dots are fit. They're fitted. And that at first just blew my mind. I thought, holy shit. Because it means that we've been given a false paradigm again, you know, guys.
Right.
With the circular moon and sun.
Yeah.
That,
Well, we
I
already
always
knew
wondered,
that.
because they like, yeah, well, no, this is the second time. They always control the opposition. That's their way. So
Right.
they get in, and no matter whether you like it or not, they're in flat Earth, and they're controlling us. And I thought, well, where's their control? And this is why I couldn't rest, and I had to find out, well, if they're lying again, where's the lie? What are they hiding? It must be a really good lie if they're hiding it through
Right.
control, and how could they? Well, that's why seeing that moon and what it does, you know,
Has
we've got to
anyone-
move on from there. I mean, you go, mate. I talk too much.
Uh-oh. We just lost Scott.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
We're dropping out one after another because all of the technical difficulties. Okay, Scott's back.
Screen
All right.
shaker, I think.
Okay, Scott, you have the floor.
Well, I was just going to ask a question in regards
Yep,
to
yep.
what you were saying about energy in the moon. Has anybody ever
Yep.
tried sun gazing, where you physically watch
I
the
have.
sunrise and sunset, and what has that done emotionally or physically to you?
Well, you know, the funniest thing, I was sitting right here, and a couple of days earlier, because I meditate and I pray, and I thought, I want to see the energy of the sun. And I thought, nah, that's a joke, don't be stupid. But I was sitting right here, and I've got some bushes, trees, just here. And as the sun come up, it's about now actually, it's just we've got cloud cover today. And if you sit and stare at the sun through a filtered light of trees, of branches and leaves, and hold your gaze steady at the sun, you will see all the colours of the rainbow flashing through your eyes, like electricity, like charged light particles. And I thought, my God, is that it? Is that it? Is that the ether? And I thought, it is. That's the bloody ether. But we can
A
only
lot of
see
people who talk about chemtrails believe that what they're trying to do is alter one end of the spectrum, and
That's
that
what
is
they're
the blues,
Blue. Yeah.
ultraviolet and the blues.
I would
And-
agree
Well,
with
it
that
makes
one.
sense. If we feed the sun, the moon, sorry, if we feed the moon with our energy, then the moon is the controller of the sun, which it is, because it's the pendulum. Then the sun is to us the information of God.
Positive.
And
Yeah.
yep. So that's the Trinity. The sun, moon, us, the sun, and the moon. We're the Trinity.
Yeah.
We are. You go.
I think there's something about a blue sky, and you very seldom see one now. What you tend to have is a murky, dirty, palish blue. But if you actually look at a beautiful blue sky, it has a magical effect on humans.
Yes, it does.
You know,
Part of why I love Calgary is we have some incredibly blue skies. And
Yeah.
the thing I miss, though, is in the winter, we have some incredibly dark days.
Right.
Crystal blue skies like you've never seen, but only 4 hours of real sunlight. So I have been practicing more and more sun gazing, sunrise, sunset. It's huge difference. Huge
It
difference
will
on my.
definitely improve your outlook on life. There's no doubt about it. As you can see, I have pretty light blue eyes, and I've been told, for years and years, you need to be really careful because you need to protect your eyes. You don't want to get macular degeneration, and you shouldn't look at the sun. You should always wear sunglasses, and I was just known for always having sunglasses on until I remembered. I didn't realize again. I remembered why I didn't used to wear sunglasses, but that was before I moved back to Florida. So about 2.5, 3 months ago, I'm gonna Scott, I mean Ned, I'm gonna mute your mic for a second just because of the dogs barking. I remembered what.
Hey, Ned's a bit like, oh, come on. Yeah, Ned's like Crocodile Dundee, isn't he? He's brilliant. And it's like he's out in the outback and he's going to go and eat a few witchetty grubs. Or, you know, or wrestle a crocodile.
Let me finish my story real quick. So I stopped wearing sunglasses here in Florida, which was brutal for about the first 4 or 5 days to a week. I mean, I was just squinty, and I thought, oh, I'm going to have old lady eyes in no time flat, but I'm going to get some sunlight in my eyes because it's different getting sunlight on your skin than it is getting sunlight into your eyes, because if you get sun into your eyes, it's positive energy to your brain and your psyche. So anyway, I haven't worn sunglasses in several months, and I definitely have noticed an improvement in my outlook. And but I also realized that when I first moved to Florida in 2001, the sky was so unbelievably blue. It was incredible. And I used to just stand out there and look at the sky because I moved from Indiana, which was really nice, but dark and dreary in the winter too. But I haven't seen a blue sky like that in probably the last couple of years, except maybe 1 or 2 days because of the chemtrails, period. In Florida, period. I mean, how did they just mask the beautiful blue sky? I mean, it's got to still be behind there somewhere, right?
I watched the video series The Truth About Cancer. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that.
Yeah.
It was released about a month ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about the relationship between melatonin production in our body and sunlight. And the false studies that were debunked now out of Norway and Sweden, where they took people and studied effects of sunscreen and did it have any practical use in defeating skin cancer. And the answer was no, 0. And they talked about the fact that sunglasses block the natural body's reaction to produce melatonin, and that when we wear sunglasses, we're actually allowing our bodies to absorb both forms of the UV radiation. But UVR, that's the one that triggers, I think it's UVR. There's UVR and UVA. UVR triggers the production of melatonin. Sunglasses block it. So the natural body reaction to defend against skin cancer is sunlight itself. But we put those things in front of our eyes, and all of a sudden our body now is defeated from producing the very thing we're bathing in.
Well, so people need to start getting out in the sun. They need to take off the sunglasses, and they need to get 15 or 20 minutes of sunlight into their eyes, a minimum, every day.
Yeah, and they say sunset is best because you've got more atmosphere. It's blocking out again
right.
the blues. It's the warm colors, the reds and the oranges that actually trigger that response in your body.
So, Ned, what would you propose that we as a group who get this start to do to combat the naysayers who not only attack you or I or Lawrence or anybody who says the sun isn't running around in a circle overhead and there is no cute little dome and there's no ice ring around the outside, and Robotham and et al. Have been punking us this time around again. What do you say? Uh-oh. We don't have any...
Still muted.
No, I don't have him muted. Are you there, Ned? Okay, you're probably going to have to drop out again and come back because we've lost your microphone.
Here, I'll share a picture in the meantime.
Okay.
I'll pull it up here. This one I shot, again, the time date stamp, the 31st of January. You can tell we didn't get a lot of snow this year. But what I was doing again was just distance pictures. I stopped on the very south side of the city, looking north, and I wanted to see how far I could physically see, again, with the P900. And that is the control tower of the International Airport.
Wow, that's incredible, the distance that thing can
You got me
see
now?
over terrain.
So now I just want to show.
Hold on one second, Ned.
That's the Google map of where I was and where the airport was.
And what's
So
the
21.5 miles.
21.5 miles. Incredible. We shouldn't have been able to see that tower.
Well, it's a high tower, but
well,
I shouldn't have been able
still.
to see. I should have, if anything, I would have been able to see a couple of the aerials popping off the top at best. Not the whole thing, and not the airport,
Right.
certainly.
Have you got me now?
Ned,
Righto.
I have a question.
Yep.
I don't know if you heard it, but we didn't hear your answer.
I did.
Did you hear my question?
I heard it.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And what would I say? Well, the first thing that they're going to do is going to attack you with the solar analema, when that doesn't answer the problem. And this is I don't know whether you have seen me debate on all the sides. I take no prisoners. And it's the same in all of this flat earth for me. The truth is all that matters. The moon is doing something nobody can explain, and they need to explain it. It's not the sun. It's not anything else. It's the moon that's talking. And what we do is solve that first, and it'll lead us to the truth. So the first thing they're going to do is hit you with the solar analema, but that's got nothing to do with the moon jumping 20 to 40 degrees on the horizon.
No, I mean,
there's
really no explanation for that. And you're talking over how much time, 20 to 40 degrees? Because they're going to say, well, the
12
sun.
hours.
Okay.
12
hours. I mean,
From
that's just not real. That's just not possible.
When you last see it, when you see it disappear, when it leaves you, it'll come up in the different spot. Completely different spot.
Lawrence, I have to go back to your
degrees.
I have to go back to your map you made.
Yeah.
Do you still have the diamond map where you showed where you showed the diamond map and you showed the portal at the east and west, the two portals north and south of the point of the equator. Do you still have that picture?
I've got it somewhere. You'll have to bear with me.
I couldn't.
All right. If you will you try to find it, because I think it's relevant at this point right now.
What you've got is you haven't got north and south. I've already completely destroyed the South Pole. That's gone. That's history. Because the daylight hours in Greenland right now are 2 hours 40 minutes twilight, no night time. Yet you can go to this exact same similar distance to Hobart in Tasmania off our south coast, exact same distance, they get 8-9 hours dark night, black. So it doesn't exist. So there's no south, there's no north. I would say north is above your head and south is below you. And that would explain then the fact that, you've got to listen to this. I had this girl and she was in admin of one of the big groups where I went in and cleaned it up, of all trials. And to get her out was not easy, but eventually I did. And then she personal messaged me and she was off her face. I mean, she really, 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 really hated me. And that's okay. But she did refer to, and she was a cultic from Britain, and she referred to me in that conversation. She said that, I don't need to worry about you. You're near the rim. You're near the rim. I don't have to worry about you. Well, you nasty bit of work. And then she turned around and I stayed calm and stayed gentle. And I said, so why is it you don't have to worry? Where are you? She said, I'm up near the edge. I'm in Britain. You sneaky little bugger. So I spent about 2 or 3 hours then just trying to coax more information out of it, but I couldn't. She realised she'd said too much. So
Well,
I cop a lot of that from trolls. I cop a lot from that.
well, I mean,
They let out information.
There's two kinds of trolls. There's government paid trolls, and John LeBon, if you're listening, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it till the cows come home, old boy, because there are government paid trolls. Okay. Now there also though are emotional trolls. Okay, these are the ones who are so freaking attached to their rubber ball that they find themselves the savior of the world, that they have to go and defend the ball no matter what, no matter where, at any cost, everywhere. Okay?
Yeah.
So those don't count.
Some insane reason.
Those are just humans that are misled. Okay, but the government.
This is something I. Can you see that?
Kinda. It's a little blurry because it's breaking up, but show it again.
Okay,
So
I found that.
East.
Hold on. Go ahead, Ned.
That's just something I put together. That's just something I put together to get a feeling in my own mind of what's going on. So you've got east,
sideways.
maybe if I turn it this way.
Yeah, there you go.
So you got east, west, but no south and north because north's above us. Then
you mean
another little
above
sketch
us over our heads, perpendicular to the flat Earth. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So then you're saying a compass. How does a compass work?
So this is just another sketch of trying to understand. I need to be able to get to electromagnetics because we need to understand how it is that it's repelling the sun across the gates and back and forwards, back and forwards, back and forwards.
Okay, so you don't think the sun goes underneath and comes out the other side. You think the moon does? Okay,
yeah, well, I think it's logical for positive and negative charge that they're not going to travel both underneath. Above us is positive, down below us is negative.
Right, okay.
So the sun goes around over the top and illuminates the face of heaven, as he says, as English says.
What do you think about this one, Ned? Let me throw this at you, and I don't know, how many of the shows you've listened to or if you've heard me throw this out there before, but what do you think the possibility is that the sun is actually not a physical object and that it is a concentration of light coming from outside of our realm?
I know it's not.
Okay. How do you know it's not?
Well, I pulled one of the occult Newton pictures, and it's all hidden in there. And what the sun is, and I've got the meme. I'll show you another time. It's a projection, and the rainbow proves that. The rainbow is the second polarization. So what you've got is a projection through the crystalline sea from outside, from the fourth level. Okay. The moon is the first level and the sun is the fourth level. And I'd say somehow with the torus field that they rotate inside at their level of vibration. They're rotating but projecting through the crystalline sea.
Okay. All right.
What we see with our eyeballs is a disc.
Right. Well, yeah, we see a disc on both cases, the sun and the moon. We see a disc. But people say, well, how can we see a disc unless it's directly overhead? Because then when it goes over there, it should just be the side of the disc, and we paper thin, and we wouldn't be able to see it, or however thin it is.
But that exactly, Laurie, and that then says that it's a projection. Because the only way that I can see it from here, and 10,000 kilometres away, they see exactly the same amount of phase as what I see here, or vice versa for north and south when we're talking north and south, that people see exactly the same phase. There's quantity of phase. Right. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible.
But what about with the moon, with the phase being reversed, meaning you see the moon upside down from the man in the moon face we see up here in the north?
Well, that's just, you know, as you can imagine, that's just a simple matter. That's just as it comes through. I mean, it doesn't rotate 360 degrees to the
No.
viewer. But what it is doing is sort of doing this. Where am I? It's doing this to the viewer.
Right, it's rocking, right. But what I'm saying is I've done the experiment to show people how that very same phenomenon could happen, and that is if I'm looking at the moon with the belly button at 5 o'clock, Tycho, and you're looking at the same moon at the same time on the same night, and you're seeing the belly button at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, we're actually seeing reversed images because I'm looking at it. It's like if you put the smiley face on the ceiling and I'm looking at with the eyes on the top and the smile on the bottom, you would be seeing the smile on the top and the eyes on the bottom. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So that has nothing to do with rotation or with the path the moon is taking across the flat Earth.
No.
Okay. So if the moon's coming in, I'm just trying to recap in my head exactly what you're saying about this 20 to 40%, because 40% is a big stretch. Okay. In fact,
that's
what you're saying is moonrise. You're saying moonrise. The moon comes in on this side, the east side, and when it goes out, it's equal. But when it comes back up the next time, it's 20 to 40 degrees in a different location. Oh, in 12 hours.
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Yep. 100%.
Well, we need you to film this.
I have.
Okay.
Well, I've got all the photos. I can't film it like time.
Well, I mean, we need you to videotape this. Can he do what does he need to do this with? Scott, does he need
Well, I give my camera away.
The Nikon P900 can do it.
It can film and take still photos. Okay. We need to get you one of those for your Outback.
Okay. I had a Nikon 9000, but I give it away. A lady that really liked it, so I give it to her.
That was awfully nice of you. Now that we need it.
Well, she always wanted.
Lawrence, I bet you have a question right about now. I can see your question face.
Oh, I've got quite a lot of things to cover, but I've just got back from a short break in Europe, and I do a lot of looking out the window at the plane, and the thought came into my head. You know, we're told when you get your book of facts about flat Earth, when you come into it, one of the golden rules is the horizon always rises to eye level. So I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking, you know, some of the times there is no horizon. I mean, the horizon is supposedly where the sky meets the land. But if you're at 30,000 feet, you don't see the land. You might just see cloud covers, so the land can't meet the sky there. It's purely sky. But when I could see the land, I was looking out the window and I'm thinking, I'm not buying that. I'm looking down at the horizon. It's not at eye level. I've got to actually look down, because when I looked out at eye level, I was looking at the sky. So I think that's another golden rule which, might not necessarily be true. I think it meets your eye level at sea level, but once you get so high, I think that rule isn't strictly true. Anybody else?
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
You'd have to know for sure if you're level or not, right? And only the pilot could tell you that.
Right. That would be true. Because if the plane is not level, both nose to tail or wing to wing, it would alter your view. I guess the only way you would be able to do that would be to hold a glass of vodka.
Which way were you looking out of the plane? North, south?
Well, it doesn't. You're going to see the horizon. So you see the land and you see the sky, and you see where they meet, and you say to yourself, "Do my senses tell me that this is eye level?" And my senses said no. They said my eye level will be looking at the sky and not looking at the horizon.
Well, I have felt that sense before when I have flown, that I'm kind of looking down at the horizon. But I, just for the sake of argument, what constitutes the horizon at that point? Are you seeing a false horizon that is cloud cover to blue sky? Because as we all know, the sky gets darker blue as you climb higher, correct? And so if you're above the clouds, depending on where you are, I mean, some clouds are really up there, then it may look like you are looking down at the horizon, but is that like I said, what constitutes the horizon? Because I've thought the same thing swimming underwater. Okay, there are places I have swam before where the water is so clear that you literally can see a horizon on the ocean floor because you have two converging elements, water and land, just like you have sky and land or sky and water. And it looked like I was looking up at the horizon. So maybe it has something to do with orientation, but I'm not arguing for or against, because that question probably could be answered as many different ways as many different flights were taken. And Ned, just for curiosity,
Yep.
Why did you ask him what direction he was looking out of the plane?
Yeah, good on you, Laurie. Hey, Doug. How you doing? Because depending on where you were flying, if you were looking out and say the plane was level, you were looking north, you might have been looking at the rim or that top edge, which would make it give you the illusion that it was dropping away. It's just that extra extent wasn't visible.
Okay. Now, that leads me back to the video and explanation that I just saw again of Captain Picard, the first man to take what do you call that thing? A balloon.
Balloon.
But he was using a balloon, but he was in a container.
Biosphere.
Biosphere little thing. Up into the stratosphere, correct? He was the first one to go break the stratosphere. And his report was that the Earth looked flat with an upturned edge. That was what he thought he saw.
That's right.
That's what he reported. Okay.
That's right. Which
Which I'm sure the concavers all went, woohoo! How exciting is this? Concave. But I've looked at photos from hot air balloons at this point, and that people are rockets that people have sent up, and the cameras that they are using are not what do you call them, fisheye or GoPros. They show what looks to be an upturned edge, only because you're seeing a lighter blue atmosphere. It looks like it's a rim. Because I've heard people, I've been in Facebook groups where somebody will post a picture like that, and it'll say, "Oh my God, look, there's the ice wall." Sorry, can't help it.
I still think the best place to look for those is here. This is from airliners.net, I believe. And it's out of the cockpit, looking straight ahead, just with a regular camera. And that will tell you, A, are you level? And B, where's the horizon? Although this is a heads-up display, so it's producing an artificial horizon, but it does show that the aircraft is in the nose-up attitude, climbing slightly, which you have to maintain, because at that speed and altitude, if you bring the throttle back, you will slowly start to descend, which totally blows away the ball theory about having to keep your nose down, because you get incredible mileage if you're constantly diving.
Right.
But I think
that's an interesting picture. That's another one of those sneaky little places where you can find some really good stuff, is because there's a lot of pilots out there
Oh
who
yeah.
they know something. They suspect all kinds
Yeah,
of things. There's probably more pilot flat
they'd have
earthers
to.
than there is non-pilot flat earthers, because they're up there looking at it day after day after day and taking off and landing and going distances. And even though most of their flight is computer controlled, correct? I mean, once they get up and put her on autopilot, and in some of these planes, I think they say they can fly them from takeoff to landing by autopilot.
Yes, they
Really?
can.
Okay.
The only thing that is still a mechanical device is the gyroscope inside
Yeah.
HSI, the horizontal situation indicator. And that's the
Isn't
only
that
thing
beautiful?
that shows you that the aircraft is turning, banking, or
Correct.
clicking.
All right. Who's making all the noise?
Is that you and your didgeridoo out there, Ned?
That's not me. That's not me. I've got to. It's early morning here, and I've got.
I bet you've got some really poisonous
You got
snakes
some
out there.
kind of parrots all going off out in the back, out in the outback out there, and wild parrots.
Well, I
are singing.
could tell you some.
The dingoes are
I
barking.
could tell you
and-
some funny stories because that's where I grew up.
in the
That's
outback.
actually where I grew up. Yeah, out on big properties. Yeah, I grew up out there. And, yeah, Yicky bulls and all sorts of things.
So,
Mickey
so
bulls
you
are
consider
a
yourself
bull
an
that
outdoorsy.
hasn't
Okay.
seen humans. Very. They're very. Used to do shark fishing and all sorts of things. That's part of Australia, I think.
Well, so you're an outdoorsy guy, and you've been, you were raised probably rurally enough that you were always outdoors. I mean, I was like
Looking
that.
up.
I was a tomboy little girl, and I was always in the woods at my grandparents' farm and out at night looking at the stars and listening to the
Yeah.
crickets and doing
Yeah.
all that stuff, and learning how to use a compass and find my way home from the woods to see if I could do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I used to love looking at the stars. I mean, I know I was right into surfing, and I can remember sitting on the beach so many times on the rocks, just in peace, and at sunset or sunrise, and because we lived on a headland, you could see both ways, and it's amazing. I used to look at that sun come up the water to my feet, and in my mind I can remember the words. It's flat. It has to be. It's flat. And straight away I discount that and go, no, don't be stupid. They know what they're talking about. But it's amazing how it's always
I have a
been there.
question. I have a question. It just dawned on me, and
Yep.
my brain works through the brain and out the mouth. So I'm sorry if I cut you off, but I have to ask this right now because this is an ADD moment. Okay. Okay. So Lawrence and I have talked in the past when we first got started talking about the portal concept, perhaps, and the East and West, and maybe there was a transition place. Tell me what you think about the time zones on Earth. Australia has a whole bunch of extra time zones, do they not?
Shocking.
Yeah, I mean, like
And if you go
time
searching on the
zones. You got a
internet-
whole bunch of them, and they're all broke up in weird places, right?
Well, if you go search on the internet, I was amazed. I thought, you bastards, because you can punch in time zones for Australia, or let's say longitude, latitude on the globe, and you will very, 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 very few where you'll see Australia unless you absolutely go directly Google it itself, because what it does is at 4,000 kilometres across, we have 3 different hourly time zones. So then that blows the boats. We're so close to the apex of the ball, supposedly, yet South America and Africa have only got a tip, where Australia is broad. So
Right.
for 3-hour time zone from east to west, that close to a ball, it's a ball buster.
Okay, so are you not also relatively close compared to us to the international dateline?
The international dateline is a joke. Isn't that a joke?
Well, okay, but let's go with it because
take that
for the
seriously?
point, well, for the point of the question, aren't you relatively close?
Okay.
You're saying the sun is okay. I'm connecting dots.
I
here,
think if
okay?
you took if somebody would finance, if somebody would finance me, I am a boat person. I love the ocean. I'll go out for weeks and nights. It doesn't worry. I love the ocean. If somebody would finance me to get on a boat and head head east, I'll lay you as much money as you like that there is probably half the Pacific isn't there. And you've got Easter Island off South America pointing east, and then it'll come around probably almost a straight line towards Hawaii and towards the Pacific Islands, New Zealand. But most of the Pacific won't be there. It's just a slave tool. That's just a tool that they need to keep us enslaved. Okay. You've got to work. You've got to work from the.
I got you, but here's my point. Here's my point. Okay, you have three time zones.
Yep.
Over the distance, the width of Australia. Okay, and you're closer to the international
which are very
dateline,
similar to America,
which changes the day.
Yep.
Actual day, 24 hours when you go across it, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
From Sunday now.
Do you have any belief that that is near about where the Enoch Skates are?
Well, I think you've got that. It's telling us because Easter Island, east, and that if you watch any documentaries, intuitive, and those statues are pointing east. I'll lay your money they're looking at the edge. They're sentinels. They're looking at the edge, at that edge.
Okay, that's something to consider.
No, there's no dateline.
Well, so what you're saying is, I mean, there is a dateline, and it is recognized internationally. But what you're saying is that there is no transition there. In other words, you don't automatically just like speed into the next day. You just go across it, and you're in the next day because it's chronological or it's not physical. You didn't change.
Well, it's one of those beautiful things of flat Earth. It's one of those absolute beautiful things of flat Earth that all truth does come out, and it's coming. That we will find that time is an illusion. Seasons made time is an illusion. We live in the now. That's all we are. We are in the now.
And that's why we're able to go from east to west continuously like we live on a ball, right? Lawrence and I have made this correlation many times with regards to, you know, when people make fun of the portals or the ha 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 Pac-Man or whatever, okay. There has to be a seamless transition from east to west. You have to be able to just keep sailing and sailing and sailing west, for example. And you're not going to fall off an edge because there is no edge. That mimics the ball. Well, you know, that's one of the reasons why they've been able to pass it off as a ball.
I was just involved in another where, trolls. We got up to about 10,000 members and really pushing hard, and we did. But being their first defence and one of their biggest defences is they come back and, where's the edge? Come on, show us where's it? Well, hang on a second. Flat Earth has said there was an edge. Are you still there?
Yeah. Flat Earth said what?
Flat Earth has never said there is an edge. Yet one of the big defence trolls use is an admission of guilt. They always come back with, where's the edge? Well, hang on, we didn't say there was an edge. So why are you saying an edge?
Yeah, where did the edge come from?
Right. Because Robotham had an edge, and that's what everybody's doing with.
Freaking Robotham again. He was the one with the edge, with the ice wall
Oh,
around the
well.
edge.
I'm still waiting for the Lawrence standard map to come out so I can use it as a screensaver.
Sorry, I can have my expert witnesses. So Ned can be the expert witness for the southern hemisphere, and Scott can be expert witness for the northern hemisphere. We're in a court of law now, Laurie, and I'm interrogating.
What I'd like to do is
questions.
triangulate the moon.
Okay, hold on. Lawrence is posing something. This is
Right,
got to be
so,
brilliant,
Laurie,
I'm sure.
All right, you're the expert witness for the globe, and I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to cross-examine you. Okay? So, Miss Frary, you assert that us humans, we live on the surface of something that looks like this. Would you say that this was, in your expert opinion, a reasonably accurate depiction of a scale model of where you say we're living?
Yes, that's what I was raised to believe, that that's where I live, on that ball.
Okay, and
Turn it around to me, I can show you where.
whereabouts is it you reside yourself?
Where that orange hanging down thing is on Central America, that little toe sticking down to the right of it.
Where's it going? Oh, I can see it now. Yeah, so you're somewhere about there.
Hold it up.
About there. Yeah. Okay. Somewhere about there.
Okay, that's where I live.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an accurate depiction, albeit as a scale model of where we live, and you say you're living there. That's an angle of over 60 degrees. Is it very hilly where you live?
Actually, no, it's flat. It's one of the flattest places on Earth.
Could you please give your expert reason as to why everywhere appears to be flat, yet your scale model gives the indication that everybody living in your neck of the woods should be standing on a slope of about 60 degrees or maybe a little bit higher? How would you explain that?
I can't explain that because all the sand would fall off of Florida and slide down into the Gulf of Mexico, and I wouldn't be able to hang on to anything because there's nothing to hang on to because it's all sand. So why Lawrence is it so flat where I am?
Yeah, well, when I look at this globe that you say that where we live, the only place that would appear to have the conditions that you describe would be on the top of this globe, where very top it's almost perfectly flat.
Yeah, closer up there to where Scott lives.
Can you please explain why that is?
I can't, but except for maybe you don't have it tilted at this 23.4 degree tilt we're supposed to be having.
So
maybe
it's always easier to go 66.6.
Yeah.
Somebody else is still. There will always be a top, whether we tilt it or not.
I can't wait till it's Ned's turn down under.
So Ned, can you tell us whereabouts in Australia you might be?
I'm in just out of Brisbane.
Queensland. Okay, yeah, I know Queensland very well. My God, that's right down there. So you're somewhere round about there. So when you look north, is everything at a very steep angle looking upwards? Is the geography everywhere?
I can't argue. I mean, I'm that flat. I just can't argue.
Yeah, because just looking at this particular place of where you are on this depiction, this accurate depiction of where you told we live, it would appear that you are leaning backwards at an angle probably somewhere of about 50 degrees or so. Can you confirm that you are actually stood at that angle, because you appear to be standing upright at the moment?
Yeah.
It's sitting upright.
Do you have Velcro on your chair?
I like the one in Australia that not many people talk about. Is right in the very middle of our land is a place called a lake called Lake Eyre, and that lake only fills up once every 7 years, and the water that fills it up runs from the east coast of Australia inland, all 3,000 k's, and it runs to the inland, right into the centre, and lakes there. That's how flat Australia is.
let's just take a look at the topography of where all three of us live to see what sort of slopes we should be looking at if we actually lived on this perfect sphere. So let me just share the screen a little bit. See if it'll let me do that. Just a minute.
You guys know that Lawrence, I'm prepared for this. Lawrence is going to drive this train for the
wrong one.
next
Wrong one.
month.
There we go. So, okay, check out the slope. Have I got the screen share, Laurie?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so check out the slope you would be living on if we really lived on a ball. And this actually works. So first of all, you check out your latitude. If you don't know it, just Google it. It'll come up. And whatever your latitude is, you deduct that number from 90. Okay, you now have the angle of the slope you should be living on. See the chart to the right to see how steep the slope would be. So, for example, where you are, Laurie, in Sarasota, you're at latitude 27. 27 of 90 is 63. And if you look on the left side of the screen, this red line depicts the typical topography in Sarasota. So everything's an extremely steep hill. You have great difficulty going anywhere without, some of those
ropes,
spikes in and ropes and things like that. Is that what it's like where you are?
No. Actually, no. It's completely and utterly flat.
And Scott, you're at latitude 50, which means that you would have a 40-degree angle. If you look on that little thing there, that would be the angle that you should be experiencing in your day-to-day life.
Uh-oh, we just lost Scott for a minute. He must have to drop out.
What latitude are you at, Ned?
Yeah, that's it.
Ned, what's your latitude?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Well, let me look real quick. Brisbane. I'm not supposed to say Bane. Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Latitude.
27.
27. You're the absolute reverse opposite of me.
All right. Well, this. I'll do a red line here for.
So his red line would be the same red line, only flipped over.
So Scott, where you are at latitude about 50, the topography should be something like this. Oops, wrong one. Let me get a line.
I was looking at longitude. Why did it come up that?
40 degrees is like that. Oops, what's that? 40 degrees. So that red line there is roughly what the land should lie at where you live and I live. We should have, the surrounding, everywhere we live should be either uphill or downhill at an angle of about 40 degrees. But it isn't. Now,
but the ball's so big you wouldn't notice.
You would, of course you'd notice. You can't get rid of a slope.
Yeah, but that's what the trolls would say.
No, you couldn't get, if we were on a bowl, Ned, you'd have to be living on a big slope, unless you're on the top of it. Well, of course you would. This is what they're telling you you live on. If you live on a bowl like this, everybody can't stand upright. Down there, you should be hanging over backwards.
What you'd get, though, this is when you beat the ballers completely, because then they turn around and say, but the balls can't see it. You can't notice. You don't trust your senses. Don't trust your senses. It's just too big.
Yeah, that's what they want you to think. Okay, this is from...
Well, then their patent answer is gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah, but Scott, gravity might hold you down, but it isn't going to change the angle.
It isn't going to change the angle of the dangle.
Oh, gravity's pretty magic.
Okay, Lawrence, I got a little return thing. I just saw this from Jason, who watches every single show. Hi, Jason. Who sent this in wrote this in the group, and he says the names of the sun. This is from Enoch, chapter 77. It says the names of the sun are these, and if I don't say them right, I'm sorry. One.
That's right.
Arius. The other is Thomas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Ausonia. The second, Ebla. The third, Venus. then the fourth array. These are the two great luminaries whose orbs are as the orbs of heaven. This machine will stay on. And the dimensions of both are equal. In the orb of the sun, there's a seventh portion of light which is added to it from the moon. By measure, it is put in until the seventh portion of the light of the sun is departed. They enter into the western gate, circuit by the north, and through the eastern gate go forth over the face of heaven. When the moon rises, it appears in heaven, and the half of a seventh portion of light is all which is in it. Okay? So go back, Lawrence, to the photograph that you just passed by a minute ago with the gates.
Okay.
Portals.
Just a minute.
Thank you, Jason. He's always there.
Not that one.
And Jason, if you're listening, mate, and maybe referring, go to chapter 73, section 8, and that's roughly where we're at now in the timing of the moon.
Hold on 1 second. Scott has to leave, so when he cuts out, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us, and please agree to join us again.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Ned, and thanks so much.
Scott.
Thanks really a lot, Scott. You bring a lot to the table.
I appreciate it.
Okay. So why do people have a problem if there's multiple names for the moon and we have these gates? Show the gates.
I've lost them, Laurie. Got to look for them again.
Okay. I think this very much describes, and Lawrence just sort of happened upon this. I mean, with a lot of work, don't get me wrong, because Lawrence does a lot of work. And anybody that poo-poos Lawrence's research, I will stack him up any day against people who say they research, because he does the numbers, he looks for things, he digs in, he doesn't sit around and just watch other people's videos all day long and call that research. That's not research. And if I have to say it 1,000 more times, I will. Now, also, equal research is going outside and looking and observing the Earth, your world, the realm, the sun and the moon,
Absolutely.
Where things are pointed, where things are happening, watching seasons and animals and migrations and rain, and I mean where weather patterns come from, all kinds of things are observations. That is research. What do you got, Lauren?
Absolutely.
There we go. So 100%.
There it is.
Yeah, Ned, there's something that you said that resonated with me. Just a minute, let me put my power back on.
Okay, mate.
So, with the model that we have on this show that best mirrors reality, there really isn't really a north and the south. There's just an east and a west. So on here, I don't know if you can see that on your screen, but basically reality shows that east becomes west if you travel in those directions. And if you headed north and hit the same edge, you would come out on the opposite side, on the corresponding other side of the world. But so if you look at that one there, exit 1 is there, and that re-emerges at entrance 2. Exit 3 re-emerges at entrance 4. Exit 5 re-emerges at entrance 6. So if you were heading up just past to the west of Greenland, you would come back down somewhere over the Soviet Union neck of the woods. And that's why I think they keep us away from the poles.
That's why they keep us from the poles.
I think they keep us from poles because they're the edges. That's the ice wall. This is where I come back, and this is why it's so important in what Enoch is saying. And if we prove it, when people prove it physically, all of a sudden the whole flat Earth understanding take a new dimension because it can be trusted. So he only speaks of east and west as any sort of avenue for the sun or moon. when he speaks of north or south, it's but also for the winds of heaven. Like there's winds, there's vents on each flat edge for the winds and for the weather.
Yes.
So he only really speaks of east and west, and the sun returns through the north. That's quite an interesting
thought, Don, because when we think about the 4 cardinal directions, we think of what they are, you know, on the earth, on the surface of the earth, but you know, directly up is a direction, isn't it? And also down. So
yes,
you know, what directions are those?
Up is up.
You know?
Well, and when, you know, people talk about the 4 corners of the earth, how do you have 4 corners in a circle? You have to add that into the equation if you're going to research flat earth from a biblical standpoint. And so those 4 corners, there are 4 angels holding back the winds, correct? Isn't that what it says?
4 angles.
4 angles, right?
It does.
Yeah, there is a big difference between the word angel and the word angle, and
there are no angles on a circle.
There are no angles on a circle. Yeah. So you know,
it's amazing stuff. It really is amazing.
When here's the thing that mystifies me about all of it, and that is people come into the flat earth and they immediately become indoctrinated into the flat earth theory, which is the flat earth theory of Robotham, and it is full of dogma that is I'm a flat earther, so that equals I believe this, and this. And if you start to not believe in any of those particular things, then you start to question the model. Okay? If you question the map, then you have to question the model. If you question the model, then you have to question the elements that make up the model. And so when people like me or Lawrence or you, Ned, or Scott or anyone starts to question the elements that make up the model and start to push out the ones that don't agree with observation, okay, then are we suddenly not flat earthers anymore? No, we're not. We're totally flat earthers. What has that got to do with anything? But
where truth is.
Here's the part that mystifies me, and that is, why would you be satisfied with this dogmatic model that is about as mundane and boring and easily debunked than you would
still hides God.
The amazing realm that the earth really is? And if you take the Bible scripture and add that in there, things like the West is as far from the East as, you know, or I paraphrase all the time. I need to be able to babble off those scriptures, but I'm just not that good at that. There's, in other words, it's an endless span between East and West, and they will never connect. That means people take it as, well, that means a globe. Well, wait a minute, how can you be a flat earther and be a globe? Well, but then, okay, well, then east to west, keep going in a circle. That says far from east to west. And wait a minute, it is not that far. That's the same, it's finite. You start here, you go around, you end up here. That's not as far from, that's point A to point A again, all right? So why would people get angry? And they do. They get as angry at us flat earthers who continue to question the model as the globe earthers do at those of us who question the globe. Explain why that is. I'm mystified.
Because there's narrative control.
Yes, thank you.
And
exactly why.
What we've got to wake up to. They've been given us another false flaw. And we have this moon is doing it now, and this will be the next step. because
You
what
you
they're
need to drop out again and come back,
is
Ned, because you're
their
breaking up.
affiliates.
Ned. Pardon me. Your
Okay.
sound is breaking up.
No,
So
you're
can you
right.
drop out and come back?
Done.
Okay. That was that quick. You already out and back in? Go ahead. Keep
No.
talking, Ned. Awesome. Okay, so
Can you hear me?
yeah. Now we can't see you, but I can hear you. So
How's that?
Lawrence.
How's that?
Okay, now you're back.
Is that all right?
So Lawrence.
Yep.
When you he's a character, isn't he? Somehow I knew you were going to be a character,
Yeah.
Ned.
Thanks. Thank you.
Next week, will
I'll
you
take
come
that
back
as a
and
compliment.
will you have a didgeridoo
Yeah.
for us?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can't play a didgeridoo. Man, they're hard. They are. They're super hard.
I bet they are. It looks hard. I mean, it kind of looks easy for those who do it, but so few people do it that it must be hard. So,
Very
Lawrence.
similar to a bagpipes. You've got to actually, I'll shut up.
Oh
Let
yeah,
these guys
it's
go.
multiple functions you have to do to the process to make the sounds. So Lawrence, what else do you have in your little Lawrence question box this week? Okay, so we hit upon the maybe you're not always looking at eye level out the plane window, and does that destroy flat Earth? No, not at all. I mean, if you're looking down a little bit, elevation is elevation. We don't know what makes up the horizon line any better than we know how far the horizon is. And so looking down slightly, I mean, for a long time, I had a hard time wrapping my mind around if the Earth were curved, would I really see the curve from east to west or right to left or not? And people would say, no, you wouldn't see it, And I'm like, yeah, I kind of think I would. No, you would only see it if you were on a cylinder or a barrel. You would see right to left curvature. But if you were on a ball, you wouldn't see it. And I still can't wrap my mind around that I wouldn't see it a little bit if I were high enough.
You'd just be looking at a great big slope, wouldn't you?
What? I knew you were going to bring that back around.
You'd just have this great big slope, and you'd have to be one of those guys.
Is this where you put up the screen capture of the goats on the side of the dam? Because everybody would be, most people anyway, would be walking around with on the side of the wall, hugging the wall like those goats that you showed us last week. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about trying to prove with some empirical evidence? Ned, you don't seem like the kind of guy, and slap me to sleep if I'm wrong, but you don't seem like the kind of guy that's going to make some big, long, in-depth video performance with your photos of 20-degree or 40-degree moon pendulum.
Well, my thing is, when I first came into Flat Earth, was like, I don't know, ago, and that was when Darryl Fox's Spherical and Flat Earth Challenge group was going, and everyone was really fighting hard for answers. And we sort of and this is what I think the narrative wanted. They wanted everyone to go to sleep again, and that's what's happened. A lot of people have gone to sleep. Right. They need to wake up, and so the more people that actually, and it's not hard. I mean, no shit, it will jump at you. When you look at that moon and look at it every night, within 1 month, you will see movements. You'll see at least 2 20% movements and probably 1 40% movement every month.
But you have to turn your TV off or stop watching your, soap show, whatever it is, night after night after night, in order to go out and do this observation. Sorry.
But I think a lot of flat earthers are awake, though.
Well, I mean, there's awake, and there's awake and aware, and there's free.
Yep.
Okay, and they're not the same.
Yeah.
And my mind is free. I am no
free.
longer under the
Yeah,
control
same.
of the mind control people. Okay, I am a free thinker. I
Same,
question
same.
everything. I
Absolutely.
don't stop questioning. But being awake,
Lawrence, can I ask a question to Lawrence?
sure, please.
Lawrence,
Yeah.
in your ability with your graphing there, so let's say I've got a meme that pretty well proves that the projection sun in this photo is only 12,000 meters. So let's say with perspective of the projection that it varies between 12 and 60, because the domes say 100 mile, but let's say 60 kilometres, 12 to 60 kilometres. If we were going to say that the moon is very similar, which it has to be, the triangulation between north and south from the height of that moon, is that possible?
It's the same. It is possible. The same with the sun, but you probably need some CAD to do it. You can probably work it out.
That's not my field.
You just do the basic trigonometry on it, and if you've got an angle and a couple of distances, or two angles and the distance, you can actually go online and just type in some of the information, and it fills in the gaps for you. So,
isn't that how you partially came upon the diamond shape of the map? Was the fact that the Earth is, the circumference is X, the radius is CB, whatever. I don't even know what I'm even talking about there, because I'm the math retard. But you came up with why the diamond shape was because latitudes, distance around where latitude is. Explain that, how you arrived at this from the sinusoidal to the diamond.
Yeah, well, I wasn't happy with the sinusoidal. It was accurate at the equator, but became less so as you move further north. It was still reasonably accurate. And so then I just thought about longitude and latitude, and that's when I bought this huge roll of graph paper. And I went on to a little program on the internet to find out the distance from one side of the Earth to the other by latitude. And you start off the equator. Well, we know what that is. It's just short of 5,000 miles, and then you just plot out the distance across the Earth at 10 degrees north, 20 degrees north, 30, all the way up to 90. And the same for the south, and then you just join up the dots and you get the absolute perfect diamond. That's why nobody else can come up with a map any better than ours, because if they say it's better, that means it won't be a diamond, and therefore it will not fit the reality of longitude and latitude, which it has to, because that is what is used on this Earth for navigation, and it's bared out by aviation flights. We can't do every single aviation flight on Earth, but we can do enough to see that the distances that it says they are accurate.
And you did what, 50 total at minimum?
I think I did 51 routes, and every last one of them was there was nothing that was way out. The worst out was about 15%, but as a whole, the whole group was less than 5% error rate in terms of, what the distance is, as opposed to official distances.
Okay.
And there was quite a few that were absolutely spot on.
And the reason why this works is because it mimics the same dimensions of the globe, which is where they got the globe from, in your opinion, and I agree. Okay. Because the observations of the globe have to match the observations of the flat Earth, because they're the same observations, obviously. So if the diamond map works as far as a spatial distance navigable observational chart, then the only thing that makes people have to question it is not the shape, But how
It's
do you get from east to
Pac-Man.
west? It's Pac-Man because Pac-Man.
Yeah,
Because you have to be able to get from east to west
yeah. You know.
seamlessly.
But
Okay.
when they
And
made the globe, when they
right,
made the globe, they had to make the model fit reality, and the only way you could have a seamless passage from east to west would be on the globe. You know, how else could they do it?
right,
But that is reality. That is the primary reason why they got away with the globe, because people see it sailed east or west and go back to where they started.
right. Which is one of the first
Ex-
dogma things you learn when you get into flat Earth is, oh, well, what about circumnavigation? Because Magellan. And so when you go, what about that? Then they came up with that little, going all around the AE map with Magellan's little boat and arrows. And Magellan did it, so this map works.
Yeah, but that's not sailing east to west. It's turning
Work
all the way, isn't it?
well,
That's as far
yeah,
away from a straight line as you're going to get.
yeah. If you look at Magellan's path, it's not a straight line in any way, shape, or form. But why do you think people believed you would fall off the edge if you went too far before the globe was announced? I mean, everybody believed the Earth was flat, but no one had ever been the distance. No one had ever, circumnavigated. And so, in my opinion, circumnavigation is nothing more than time. That's all it is. It's the movement of time, the person moving in time. And the flat Earth is seamless, just like the sun and the moon work seamlessly. Sailing around the world or across the world is seamless because
Yeah,
there's this shortcut thing.
if you got into the mindset of people who were not that educated, and and all their senses told them that they lived on a flat Earth, then they will have seen big waterfalls where the water comes crashing down, and it would be a reasonable assumption to think that the ocean at some point would go crashing over an edge. So that
Right. Right.
it's quite a logical
Yeah,
assumption
it's
to
not
make.
a stretch at all. I mean,
Yeah,
you would conclude one observation to the next observation, and
yeah,
because, and so, um, when you got into flat Earth, when I got into flat Earth, this circular rendition of what we're supposed to believe that was implanted into this movement for the purpose of misdirection. That is my belief, and many others.
Mine too.
yeah,
When you saw that, you kind of took you a little while to sort of wrap your mind around it. Well, how does the sun work, and how does the moon work, and and what about the stretchy
yeah,
thingy of then this ice wall, and then you hear the
Analemma.
stories of the Jarl Anderhoy and the Berserker, and how you can't go there because you'll be shot dead right out of the water if you go too close to Antarctica where they don't let you land. Okay, and
yeah.
so you keep adding up all of these dogmatic stories that go in mythology. It's nothing but flat Earth mythology. I mean, we
I
have
know.
our very own mythology.
Let me
So,
share something, Laurie.
okay.
Just a second.
So
Oh, yeah.
once you start to question one of those things, it doesn't take very long before, well, then what about that? And what about this? Is it
Okay.
both?
That's not the one. No, hang on a minute. Why is it done? Hang on. Here, it's this one. Here we go. So people were arguing the toss with me the other day, saying that it wasn't Robotham who put this mindset of the 8 inches per mile squared. But this is chapter 2 from his book. And he says, if the Earth is a globe, 25,000 statute miles in circumference, blah, 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 blah. From the summit of any such arc, there will exist a curvature or declination of 8 inches in the first statute mile, and the second mile 32 inches. So this 8 inches per mile squared, which was repeated, by the book, by the
Ad
likes of
nauseum.
ad nauseum, that's the word, yeah. I was trying to get that word. You read my mind. Even Mark Sargent and Eric Dubay and everybody else, 8 inches per mile squared. And tomorrow they are reenacting the Bedford level experiment where they're, where the math, if they use this, would be 24 feet over 6 miles, when if you took the reality that we were on a sphere, it would be over 800 times more, over 20,000 feet. That's how crazy it is. And this 8 inches per mile squared, it's got into flat earth folklore from, this guy called Robotham again. He set the entire template. Everything that these guys are going with, these big names, in flat earth, the ones who make the headlines and get the huge viewings, they're all going with Robotham's model, and it's a crock of shit. Out of that.
Love it. Good man.
Tell it like you really think. Okay, let me go see something here. Michael Robotham.
Well, you got to.
Why would they come up with
Isn't that
Michael
amazing?
Robotham?
What were you saying then, Ed?
Isn't it amazing? I struggle because I speak what I think as a rule. I'm being very cordial here, but even in flat Earth now, there's so much bullshit with people that won't speak their mind. They dance around the topic instead of just, but I don't agree.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. The difference between being awake and being aware and being free.
Yeah.
Free says say what you think. There is no political correctness anymore when it comes to freedom. Okay, you don't.
No.
You can be nice. And you can be diplomatic in your tone of your way of saying something. But just today, I told somebody, no, you're not posting that in my group because it is misinformation. And she laughed.
Yeah, I did.
And I said, well, then goodbye, because I've given you plenty of warnings, and I'm not going to allow this anymore.
Yep.
And then, of course, I got my inbox filled up with, why don't we just call it Lori Frary's Flat Square Group, and nobody can post anything but what you say, and so on and so forth, and why don't you get a life, and then but blessings and peace and harmony be with you.
Why post and pollute the information with stuff that just doesn't work?
Because
it doesn't work, so don't post it. We're supposed to be.
Ned, here's what happens, okay? 90% of people are not comfortable, gregarious, vocal, demonstrative, confident. They're not those things, okay? So when somebody is, and they put something out there with complete and utter confidence, like an Eric Dubay, nice and smooth delivery, very soft-spoken, Mark Sargent, nice and smooth, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, okay? And then so people go, well, that person must know exactly what they're talking about because they're so confident and they're so, have you ever even looked up the word technocrat? Do you even know what that means? Technocrat is an authority, okay? They're an authority in their field, and they're positioned by virtue of their job or their elected position to do what's best for humanity and for their job and whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. That's a technocrat.
Or their own interest.
Okay? They're not interested in being right. They're interested in being thought of as being the expert. Okay? So when you have somebody like Dubay,
you know what an expert
ad nauseum over and over and over, is at 8 inches per mile squared, it just rolls off the tongue, and then somebody soon says, if I can just roll off the tongue 8 inches per mile squared, I will sound as good as Eric Dubay, and I'll be able to convince thousands of people to become flat earthers, except for it's wrong.
And control them.
And
control them from there.
And be in control. Right, exactly. So
I think what I've brought up this morning, honestly, You can put this to Eric DeBay. You could put this to Mark Sargent. You could put this to Patricia Steer. You could put this to absolutely anyone. Why and how does the moon move 20 to 40 degrees on the Great or Lee horizon? Your circular map doesn't match. No solar analema is going to work. Please tell me. And they won't be able to.
And they won't be able to, and they will never speak to you again, and they will never speak of you again, and you will become the ostracized flat earther from Australia who doesn't know what he's talking about and can't prove it he's never put up any.
I've already proven it. I have.
Okay.
I've already proven it.
Well,
and that's
Lawrence has already proven that. Lawrence has already proven that the map that he made is a perfect example of how the surface of the Earth is plotted out, okay? Beyond that, he has never even begun to say, and all this fits in a circle, or all this fits in a box, or all this fits in a tetrahedron, or all. He's never done that. He's only said, this map represents the facts and figures we know of the land masses of Earth.
Which is what we need. How the rest of it
works, I don't have a freaking clue. Would you agree with that?
Well, as I said before, I think you're on the money. It's just that east is west, east is east, and west is west, and that's where the actions are coming from.
Right.
But I think that the map, given the way you've done it, Lawrence, is beautiful.
Well, I mean, nobody's been able to debunk it any more than they will be able to debunk your 20 degrees
because he's used facts.
Moonrise.
Exactly. And I think you'll probably find, that's why I'm here, that this moon thing will shake hands with Lawrence's.
No doubt. I think so, too.
I
mean, there's no serendipity about what's been going on here. Lawrence and I wouldn't have met in any circumstances under the sun except for About Flat Earth through Facebook.
Yep.
And to do this show, okay?
Well,
we have become the outsiders of Flat Earth. We have become the ones who hold the gun to everybody's head to say, just look at more stuff. That's all we're asking. We're not asking you to believe.
That's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to do. We've got to keep questioning. We're not there yet, and we've got to keep questioning. See, I had Santos and another couple that talked about they wanted to know more, but they haven't got back to me. So I thought, I don't make it happen. I let it happen. What have I done?
No, I've already got a question for you now. This is just a light-hearted.
Oh, now you're breaking up, Lawrence. Your sound is terrible. You got to drop out and come back again. Your sound is terrible.
Who was it? Me?
No, it's Lawrence this time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I have no idea why it hasn't been happening to me today, but it hasn't happened in quite some time. But I guess I'm lucky, or maybe it's because I'm the one running the program here. But who knows? So Ned, before Lawrence comes back, which won't be long.
Yep.
No. I'm very thankful that you contacted me and with such urgency to come and talk about what you have to talk about, because it does fit in with exactly with what Lawrence and I have been talking about. And we're not the only ones. There are other people. We do not lay claim to our version of Flat Earth, okay? Because we don't actually really have a version. We're still investigating the version. So go ahead, Lawrence. What do you got? You got a big question, burning question.
No. I'm just having a short interlude purely for something I find quite funny. I'll tell you in a second. But let me ask you, Laurie, have you seen the movie called Saving Grace?
No.
You've never seen it?
I don't think
You've got to watch it. It's a fabulous movie. I'm just going to show you just a 2-minute clip.
No, you cannot. No, I'm sorry. I have to stop you, because you know what happened to us last week? You played something during the thing, and we got a copyright strike. So you can't. I'm not letting you do it. No,
Holy
I
shit.
hate the copyright strike because then they can put ads all over our video, and then if we get more strikes, we can get our show cut down to where we can only be on for 15 minutes, and I'm not willing to risk that.
Well, what if I just play the sound?
Just paraphrase what it's about. Just tell me.
No, you don't. Just watch the movie. Just watch.
I'm not doing it. No, I will black you out. I'm swearing. I'm not letting you do it because that copyright strike pissed me off. The first one we got.
Saving Grace. It's a movie about this woman whose husband died and left her a huge pile of debts, and she's got this great big rambling mansion, and they're about to evict her. She's very good at botany, and she ends up filling a big greenhouse and stuff. She was growing loads of marijuana, and I was just going to show you one of the scenes from it. It cracks me up. But,
all right. Do you know what episode it is so that we can tell the viewers and they can go watch it? Is it on YouTube?
If you go to YouTube and type in Saving Grace,
okay,
shop scene.
Shop scene. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a clip from the movie, and it's brilliant.
I will go and watch it. I hate to be a butthead, but we've done so good so far, and I have so many other problems going on with my Facebook and with everything else. I'm not risking a copyright strike.
Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, so I've had a few days of holiday in Amsterdam, and every day you go into a cafe and you get a choice of Mr. Green, different types of, and it was
so
funny. This was all in one day. Where have you gone? It was all in one day, and I'd seen Mr. Green, and I'd gone across to one of the Irish bars to have a couple of beers, and at the table opposite me, there was this American woman and an American gentleman sat each other, and the woman was eating her food really fast, and the guy he was still eating his, and because they were in silence, just eating. There was no conversation, nothing. And she suddenly pipes up after she'd eaten her food. She said, "I'd like a piece of your sausage." So the guy, he's got this big German sausage on his plate.
And were you high and you got the giggles at that point?
Well, no, so he sliced a piece and stuck it on a fork and passed it over to her, and she chewed it in silence. And I was telling my partner about it, Joanne, about this guy, and we got the giggles. We just couldn't stop laughing. We just thought it was so funny. And of course, this woman knew we were talking about her, and
of course.
More.
I mean, what?
So we go back to the Hotel Americain, which is where all the Americans go. And we thought we'd just go to the bar and have a drink. So I get to the bar. It's one of these like an American bar, and it goes in a big circle with the barman in the middle. And I said, I'll have two Sambucas with Baileys. And this American one was sat in the chair on the stool next to me, and she says, "Oh, that sounds—I can't do an American accent. We were Irish. That sounds interesting. I'll have one of those. I'll put theirs on my tabs." So I was chatting to this American woman, and I started saying, I said, "What's this with Obama then? He keeps talking about the flat Earth. You know, we haven't got time for the meeting of a flat Earth society. And if Columbus were around today, you would have, these people will be founding members of the flat Earth." And she says, "Oh, that guy, he's nuts." And so I say, "Well, what do you do? What brings you over to Amsterdam?" And she says, "I'm an FBI agent."
What?
Oh, I just thought, well, that's it, So
I didn't hear the punchline.
I asked this American woman what she was doing in Amsterdam, and she told me she was an FBI agent.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Was she getting high in Amsterdam?
Oh, no, she was, I don't think she was one of the...
So you asked her about the flat Earth. Did you get to continue the conversation?
No, I didn't. I was just asking it out of curiosity to see what she'd say, to see whether she paid any attention to what Obama
Well, I know
saying.
you do that often. You start talking about the flat Earth with people in bars.
you just bring the subject on it. Oh,
Do you ever
in
do
all
that,
honesty.
Ned? Do you just go up to strangers ever, or if you're in a club or a bar or a store, or do you ever talk to them about flat Earth?
It's
The Jehovah's
it's a bit
Witnesses come
hard
knocking
here.
on the door. I tell them about it, and they can't get away soon enough. They've been there
Isn't it
half an hour.
amazing? It is amazing. I had a really good friend because I've studied like all of the Christian religions and well, the whole lot. But anyway, a really good friend. He's Seventh-day Adventist, and I rang him up and I said, "Mate, come around. I need to tell you something. You need to understand." Oh yeah, thinking he's coming to save my soul. He gets here and I said, "Now I'm going to blow your mind, right?" No, you can't do that. You can't do that to me. Oh no. I think he was about 15 minutes. He was gone. 15, that's all. But I have
Oh,
got,
that's all you got out of him with the flat Earth?
yeah.
That's really about all you can expect on a first go.
Yeah.
And most of
And
the
then
time they will avoid you like the plague after that, or they will go off and think about it and come back at you with some arguments like,
Well, that's what I thought of.
what about the Coriolis effect or some shit?
Oh, God.
What about the fact that the water? Which way does the water drain in your sink down there in Australia,
God.
Ned?
Yeah,
Does it go
absolutely.
clockwise or counterclockwise?
Isn't it amazing how dumb we were?
Oh,
It's absolutely.
Well, okay, think about it. Look how many years go by from the time you get out of school, and all you can think about when you're at school is getting out of school, right? You just like, I'll just cram whatever I need into my brain to take a test, and then screw that, I don't need that anymore. And your whole life, young life, is just filled with indoctrination of one sort or another, whether it's your official schooling or your parents' bigotry or religion or something. I mean, you're constantly being indoctrinated, and
Yeah.
And then years go by. You're out doing your life. You get married. You get a job. You have kids. You just do and do and do, and then suddenly something like flat Earth comes into lands in your lap, and you not only have to unlearn all the things that you have already learned, but you have to start all over again with all new stuff, and you have to figure out how to coordinate all this new information into.
That's actually part of why That's partly why I will not switch off my curiosity. Now, I will not switch it off. Never. I will not ever switch it off again, because they've blown my trust. That's it. I'm like that. You've done it.
Nobody's going to get me again. They got me once. Shame on me.
Yeah, same.
Whatever that.
And I will not switch it off. I won't switch it off again now. And that's why if something doesn't match, it needs to be worked out. Because I built my reality up again from where I had to let go of everything and say, right, I'm empty. And I built everything with facts. Everything had to be built with fact.
And add to that, not only that, but you have these people who are so insistent, those paid trolls, John Lamont, those paid trolls who, or those, wannabe trolls who think that their job is to save you back to the globe, okay? And they call you uneducated, right? You're exactly right. I am uneducated with regards to that indoctrination. I'm
proud of it.
Kicked it all out. Proud to be undoctrinated. But what you don't understand is I know all new stuff, and all you know is all the old stuff that I already know too. See, I already knew all that
no
stuff.
fact.
Whether or not I was a rocket scientist or a physicist or an astrotheologist or whatever before I became who I am now, it makes no difference. I knew all of the indoctrination pro forma that I was expected to know. And yet, here's what's interesting. Most people who call themselves Globers don't know as much about the globe as we do.
No. Not
They
a
don't
hope.
know what the
Not a hope
circumference
at all.
of the Earth is. They don't know what the spin is. They don't know. They don't know how far away the moon is supposed to be, or the sun's supposed to be, or any of that stuff. They don't. They don't
No,
know it. You know, it's like they don't rattle it
no.
off like I can, like you can. I could rattle it off. All right. They don't know
Yeah.
latitudes and longitudes and names of the oceans and the geography of the Earth, and they don't know any of that stuff. Okay.
No,
Now,
no, they don't.
interesting. Before we have to go,
Yep.
because we're coming up on 3 hours. I have something else that I want to read that someone sent as
hmm
a comment in my message box. Well, that's really right. Okay. This was 3 weeks ago from Moonraker. And it says, it sent me a link to a video of flat Earth moon phases. And it says, after you see the video, it's called Flat Earth Moon Phases. And it says, after you see the
Can I say one
video,
thing here
yeah,
before you start? Can I say one thing that
sure.
needs to be said for people to think about?
All right.
Originally, they told us that we were on a ball spinning faster than a bullet, and we believed
Okay.
them. We didn't
Mhm.
trust our senses, did we? Now
Right.
we know there's not a hope. We're sitting on that ball. So, in between the phases, the moon can't be seen anywhere on Earth for roughly about a week. We can't see it in our skies on any continent. Where is it?
Okay. Well, I'm about to tell you what this person says, or
Okay.
brought up the same similar thing. It
Oh,
says,
didn't it? Good.
after you see the video, when you look in the sky at the moon, you may have a whole new perspective on what may be going on with it, and why the moon shows up in different places each day, and why the moon is sometimes seen during the day, sometimes at night, and sometimes not at all. It also shows why the moon shows up in the same place, but at a different time each day. Where the moon shows up in the sky each day is based on a predictable system, a logical schedule. It rotates in a clockwise circle around the Arctic center of the disc-shaped Earth. Now, this part they have wrong, but I'm not
That's
going to
right.
read it anyway. Also, the sun, the sun does the same thing but rotates faster than the moon. The moon is always half lit, but from slightly different angle each day. The moon circles about 28 times a month and the sun 30 times a month. This varying of speeds produces different shadows positions on the moon. This is because the sun and moon are co-positioned at different angle each day. So when we, on Earth, look up to see the moon, we are observing the different angle of the shadow. This angle of shadow changes slowly each day. This angle of shadow produces crescent shapes and half moons, etc. These shadows look different to people living in the northern latitudes of Earth than those who live in the southern latitudes. This is because people in the southern latitudes see the south face of the moon, and the people who live in the northern latitudes see the north side of the moon. I think the video I made may portray what may be happening and causing the phases of the moon on this flat Earth of ours. It may have some flaws, but it does offer a possible scenario of what is going on. The apogee and perigee also have a cycle when the moon goes to higher and then lower altitude, but not included in this demo. I hope you find it interesting. Now, this is, without a doubt, somebody who is actively pursuing research. Okay? They're at least thinking. And when they click in that, wait a minute, the sun isn't circling, the moon isn't circling, what else could it be doing? They will look at that same research from a totally different perspective. Okay?
Exactly.
And this is all that we are asking people to do with regards to this AE map and model. Okay? Just look at your same observations with a different model behind it and see if you can make any better sense out of it. If you cannot, if it doesn't make any sense to you, then you've at least looked at it. But it will not kill you to look at it, because before you looked at flat Earth, if someone told you, if all your life you were told the Earth was flat and that the sun and the moon trekked overhead from east to west day after day after day, and then suddenly someone told you, oh, no, the Earth is a ball, and this is how it all works. You would call them crazy, correct? You would go, that is some crazy shit right there. So if you thought the same thing once you became a flat earther, then you need to take one more step and get yourself out of the indoctrination that you jumped from out of the frying pan into the fire by hooking up with the pat serving of flat earth dogma when you became a flat earther.
Yep.
That's my truth. Okay. So you know, here, like I said, I read that because this is a person who's trying to make videos, who contacted me to say, could you look at what I did at my video? And so far, I just found it today. I haven't gone over and watched the video, and I will comment and say, why don't you see if you can fit your formula and your observations into a square flat earth or a rectangle flat earth or a diamond flat earth, for example?
Well, once again, I would add, look at the horizon. People have got to look at the horizon. They must look at the horizon, because what's happened is, I believe, we've got controllers that are taking people's eyes and making them look up. And they're looking up, 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 up. They're not looking at where it's coming from and where it's going.
Right.
That's the key.
That's part of the whole space program phenomenon, is keep looking up. Keep looking up into the heavens and the sky up there and way out there.
Look at the moon. Look at the moon.
Look at the moon. Everybody's focusing on the moon when it's up in the sky. They're not focusing on where it's coming from.
Need to look at the horizon, where it's coming from and where it's going. And
what do you got, Lauren?
When they see it jump, they will go, holy shit.
Use a bit of logic for Ned, because Ned said earlier on, saying that you wouldn't notice that you were stood at a crazy angle because it was so big. But let me ask you a question, Ned. This is a scale model of the Earth. If I increased it about 50 million times bigger, it would be a full-size model of the Earth. Yeah, on the top. Yeah, it's still going to be flat on the top, isn't it? If it's 50 million times bigger. Do you agree?
Well, it depends on both the circles. The Arctic Circle's smaller than the Antarctic Circle.
On the very top. If I made
talking about the globe.
If I made this model 50 million times bigger, it would still be just as flat on the top as what this is. Yeah.
Right.
And at the equator, it's still going to be a 90-degree angle at the equator, isn't it?
Well, that's why they come up with a spheroid, because.
But
Ned, wait.
So it's 0 degrees angle on the top because it's virtually flat, and it's 90 degrees angle at the equator. So everything else in between is going to be an angle between 0 and 90 degrees. Yeah. You are going to notice that you're going to be stood at a fucking steep angle. That is the biggest flat Earth truth that's out there, because every fucking stood upright. Yeah. And we've got the Bedford level experiment going tomorrow. They're looking for 24 feet when it should be over 20,000 feet. So they're using the Robotham pile of poo handbook as to how flat Earth should be.
And it's
here's the thing. Here's the thing about what Lawrence is saying. Okay, if it's true, what he's proposing we would see if we lived on a globe. Okay, that beats the shit out of 8 inches per mile squared, does it not? Okay, so why would people want to claim to 8 inches per mile squared? Because in their mind, it's enough. Okay, it's enough. It's good enough. If 8 inches per mile squared is visible over 125 or 50 or 100 miles, like Scott's photo that he showed us earlier, then that's good enough. Why should we push it any further? Because if you can get enough people to wrap your mind around that the globe is always on this axis, okay, and it's always spinning like this. top is always on the top and bottom's always on the bottom. Screw gravity, okay? This has got nothing to do with gravity. This has to do with perception of what would it be like if I were truly on a globe. And that's why I said earlier, what would it be like if I were on a globe? Would I see left to right curvature like a frowny face when I looked over a great distance? Wouldn't I see that? Okay. Some people say you kind of do see it, but it's a circle and it looks like it's, curved. No. There's a big difference between that and this. The pizza.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I just prefer for now for Lawrence to keep working this, because if he's wrong, it'll fizzle. Right, Lawrence? That's how it works. If he's wrong, it'll fizzle. If he's right, then more people it will click. More people will get, he's right about that. Okay? So I don't poo-poo anything anymore. Any wacky shit that Lawrence comes up with that seems wacky on the front end, I don't poo-poo it anymore, because so far, as far as I can tell, he hasn't been very far off from right on all the questions that he's been asking. So until he really throws a bone out there, I'm going to have to keep trying to wrap my head around it, and that's all I'm asking other people to do. Right, Lawrence? Okay, so we got to wrap it up because we're like just right on the money for 3 hours, and I don't like it to go a lot longer than that. So thank you, Ned, for joining us. I hope that you'll come back on again, and I hope that you'll continue to share with us.
I'm back.
Okay.
Yep.
And thanks again for Scott, who was on earlier, Scott Price. We appreciate your input, and we definitely want you back again as well. And we may continue to do a little bit of a, panel thing for a little while until we just beat some more rocks and come up with how flat the Earth is. So thanks, the viewers, for joining us. And we'll see you next Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like clockwork, like the moon, baby. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Laurie.
Good night.
Good night, guys. See you, Lawrence.